I met a strange lady. She made me nervous. She took me in and gave me breakfast. She said, "Do you come from a land down under, where the women thaw and men thunder?" Man, I seen Beats' one of his last uploads, his recent upload, and he was talking about that whole Crawford Spence A-side situation, and a lot of that was truth, but it's gonna fall on deaf ears because it is reality that like most people are looking at the pay-per-view buys that Errol Spence brings in, and to them the obvious answer is that, oh well, Errol got to be the A side because he got more belts. That's one, and because he sells more pay-per-views. That every single time he's been on pay-per-view, he's sold more pay-per-views than Terrence Crawford did. That's two. But there's a lot in there that'll tell you otherwise, because for starters, his pay-per-view numbers are starting to go down. You know, he didn't hit 360,000 pay-per-view buys like he did with Mikey, with Danny. So you're not actually on the up and up, because since he was on pay-per-view with Mikey, who we all know helped him sell that pay-per-view. I don't know why people want to be disingenuous about it, but we all know that Mikey helped him sell that pay-per-view, the first one he was ever on. But since then, his numbers have started to plummet. I appreciate that, Ronald Finkley. I have been told that I have won the unrivaled boxing channel of the year. It came down to myself and boxing beats and rhymes. I voted for Beats, as I've relished many hours of entertainment watching his channel and his knowledge of the sport. I want to thank Al Heyman. First, I want to thank Al Heyman. Then I want to thank God. Then I want to thank my manager, Audie Palullo. He does wonders for me. I love Audie. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff, man. You know, I appreciate y'all voting for me. Appreciate it. What was I saying? Right, the pay-per-view buys. You know, Errol being the A side to Crawford is very contentious. It is, because it's not as simple as, oh well, you sell more pay-per-view buys than he does, so that makes you the A side. It's and normally it is. Normally that's what it comes down to. Who sells more pay-per-views? But if you're looking at the situation, okay, 360 with Mikey, a reported 277 with Sean, under that with Danny Garcia. So your pay-per-view numbers, they're not even going up, they're going down, which means your buzz is like, you know what I mean? Get some people in on this joint. Get some people in on this, and we'll weigh in and we'll talk about it. I was gonna do a video on this, but a little bit pressed for time, so I'd rather just freestyle it. Met a strange lady. She made me nervous. She took me in and gave me breakfast. Hope everybody had a very good Christmas, very good holiday. I know I did. It was excellent. Everybody got what they wanted. I will get the ring in the new year very soon. But yeah, I haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes of the conversation yet. The live just started, but I tend to agree with what Beats said. I do tend to agree with what he said. All right, there's Mark. Mark, you know that tonight is going to be Tioka. Mark.
Happy Boxing Day. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. So yeah, man. Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, A-side. What do you think?
Oh, first of all, Beats' video. We've all seen it pretty much. Anyone who hasn't definitely should check it out. It's very informative. It's a very good argument for Crawford, actually, in the negotiation process. I agree with a lot of points on it. A lot of points. I actually agree with the whole thing. The A-side thing is, the fact of the matter is, neither of these guys is a genuine A-side in boxing yet. Most A-sides are made, be it key defining fights or through torches being passed, aka Floyd Mayweather, with Oscar De La Hoya, he became an A-side then. He wasn't an A-side in that fight. I think he got 30%. He conceded to all the gloves arguments. Fury and Wilder in the rematch, Wilder needed him. That's why it was 50-50. The fight beforehand, I think it was like 60-40, but even then, Fury was coming off of a massive layoff and wasn't even selling anything in Manchester. There's a lot of background noise. Somebody's got snot in their nose.
Yeah. Who's got COVID? Like, if you got COVID, you can't go live. Right? Jesus Christ.
All in all, like for me, I think the negotiation process, like I understand to some extent, like when you get into ifs and buts about like, well, Spence has outdone Crawford by practically like a couple $100K in total, 300,000 overall in pay-per-view buys. I kind of get that argument, right? Overall proximity of amount of pay-per-view buys, but the thing about this is Spence ain't going to do 500,000. Crawford ain't going to do 300,000. Combined.
Oh no! Wait a minute. See, this is the thing. This is what I think. This is where we differ. I think if you make that fight, at least in the landscape now, which is not even the landscape that it was before, but if you make that fight now, based on what momentum it does have, I think it does 500,000. Before, when the fight was more popular, because the fight is not as popular as it was. That's the other thing, and that's because the fans are killing it. You have Errol Spence Jr. fans that are talking down the fight. You understand? Like, it's not like with Joshua and Fury, where the Fury fans want to see the fight and the Joshua fans want to see the fight.
Yes.
With that fight, the Errol Spence Jr. fans, the PBC fans, that faction, that contingent of American boxing fans, they've
made out that Crawford is trash, essentially. Yeah, that's what they've made.
They don't want to see the fight, in a nutshell. Where with every other big fight, both sets of fans want to see the fight. This is the only quote-unquote super fight I've seen where only one side wants to see the fight. Errol Spence Jr. fans rather argue about, I don't even know, Sean Porter's socks, Keith Thurman's hairline and what happened to that. They rather argue about a lot of shit than that fight. That being said, in that kind of environment, the most I think it does with the true blue boxing fan in America that pays for fights, the most I think it does now is maybe 500,000 because they've taken a lot of momentum away from that fight. I'll say a year ago, the fight was a hotter topic. Now, even hardcores like me, you, Lennox, Box, we're sick of it. I'll still pay for it. But I mean, really, where's the momentum?
Can you and I agree on this one thing? Between the two of us, right? I think this is fair. You and I, because of this fight, are actually sick of the entire welterweight division.
Yeah.
We're fed up with the entire thing because of all of the politics all surrounding this fight. The masquerading of level of opposition on one side, the fights that are not being made, certain fights being pushed in place of this to over-marinate. Like, we just don't care anymore. It's become redundant. And that's a bad thing considering how good both fighters actually are to watch. They're both really enjoyable guys to watch. I'm moving all fanboyism aside. I like watching both dudes box. They're both really entertaining guys, and they should be fighting each other as a legacy fight because that's what it is. It's a legacy fight.
That goes back, and I'm gonna pass it over to Lennox after this. That goes back to what we were talking about before. That you have one outfit that manages their fighters the way you would manage a music artist, and then you have another outfit that is in the business of boxing. That's Top Rank. You understand? Errol, out of his own mouth, and I quote, he said, "I'm here for a good time, not a long time." That tells you everything you already need to know. That's up there on his Twitter right now. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. He places and they place no emphasis on the Crawford fight because they know in their heart of hearts, even if you could consider Errol the A-side fighter based on how many pay-per-views he sold, there's not as much money in it for them than sacrificing him to Canelo or pursuing a Manny Pacquiao fight. Because no matter how many more pay-per-view buys he sells than Crawford, that's still not a lot of money. It's not. You got to look at the guaranteed purses to the fighters. If you don't know nothing else, the guaranteed purses to the fighters give you a barometer for where things really are. And look at what he was guaranteed for Mikey Garcia. Look at what Errol was guaranteed for Sean. It was $2 million apiece for Sean. $2 million apiece. That's reported to the commission. $2 million for Errol, $2 million for Sean. Now, Errol likely got the lion's share of the upside if there was one. I don't know if there was one. I have people on the inside tell me that there wasn't. All right? They tell me that there wasn't no upside in that pay-per-view. I tend to go with the high number, the reported number, to give them the benefit of the doubt, because even if I do, it's still the same fucking thing. But better still, you only get $2 million guaranteed in a unification match where Terrence Crawford gets $4 million regardless of whatever against an Amir Khan, an Igis Kavaliauskas, a Jose Benavidez Jr., or Raquel Brook. He gets more guaranteed than you do. So this illusion that this dude is desperate and he's fighting for peanuts, bro, you're fighting for peanuts. They're only guaranteeing you peanuts, and they're hoping that the fight fans will pay you the rest of the money, because you only got $2 million guaranteed for Sean. I looked at the guarantees for this fight, for the Danny Garcia fight. The guaranteed purses for the fight was 1.5 for Errol, I think it was, and 1 for Danny. It's like, yo, y'all not A-side fighters, man.
No.
Go ahead, Lennox.
No, nothing, man. I was just good morning. You lot just popping in for a few before I go out to train with your favorite heavyweight. But Beats was on.
Wait,
Beats was spot on.
Wait, is it the best head of hair out of Sweden?
Well, actually, he is your favorite. I don't know how much he likes you these days. yeah, but me and the man them, back going to Jersey today with the other guy. You know what I mean? The other guy that we were working with the other day. I'm not going to say his name on live. You know what I'm talking about?
No problem. I know.
Yeah. So yeah, but Beats was spot on about the A-side scenario, because everything he stated was facts, fam. It's just like that's just a bunch of nonsense, because if we want to go by, well, you brought up a point about guarantees, and I don't know whose echo I'm hearing. There's an echo coming back at me.
Yeah, everybody else mute your mics while Lennox is talking to see who's got an echo going on.
Yeah, but you brought up a point about the guaranteed numbers, yeah? Like the guaranteed numbers for Crawford, it's you can't A-side a man. Number one, for you to be an A-side, you gotta sell pay-per-views by yourself. Mm-hmm. So far, Spence hasn't proven that he can move the needle by himself. You get me? And to an extent, Crawford has, even though it's been on free TV, though, he's gone out there, yeah, and he's put up decent broadcast numbers with an Igis Kavaliauskas, right? Someone where, say, the casual fan didn't know. A Jose Benavidez, which I would say for the most part, the casual fan was unaware of. So you can say, right, Crawford's been able to do numbers by himself. You can't say that with Spence, right? Spence needs a dance partner.
Look, can we say this, Lennox? And this is what I think they should have done, but and we'll get into why that is. If you put Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia as a free fight on Fox, that fight does monster numbers. I'm talking about 4 million, maybe 5 million. I think it does that well.
Huge
as
numbers.
A free fight. The problem is that you have Errol and you have Danny who think they're bigger draws than what they are, and they want certain amounts of money every time they fight, even though you're not good for it. We put you both on a pay-per-view, and what do you bring us back? A little over 200,000 buys, if that, because the people I'm talking to are telling me they didn't do that. Don't believe that. They didn't do that. But I go with it for the sake of argument that, look, even if you did 225,000 buys, even if you did that, that's not a lot. So, I mean, you guys don't belong on pay-per-view. And Errol Spence Jr., as far as I'm concerned,
that's the bigger thing.
On pay-per-view without Terrence Crawford or Manny Pacquiao.
Well, that's the bigger thing here. I think what these men, especially these men that like to chat about money here, well, the information they keep giving out that everyone keeps missing is the fact that, fam, your outfit does not have the money to pay anyone without putting it on pay-per-view.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like
you said in one sentence. You said in one sentence what was going to take me 2 hours. They're like, dog, Fox is not even guaranteeing these guys, the guys that fight on their network. They're not guaranteeing them, but so much. So what are you going to guarantee Crawford? Is Fox going to guarantee Crawford his minimum purse of $4 million a fight? Because we see that you haven't guaranteed that to Errol. You haven't. You haven't guaranteed that to Errol. You haven't guaranteed that to Sean. Y'all gave Sean $2 million for a unification match between them. And this is not speculation because the guaranteed purses are reported to the local state commission. All right. So we know, yeah, that's facts. You got $2 million. He got $2 million. So you telling me Fox couldn't guarantee y'all more than that? Crawford get guaranteed more than that to fight Mean Machine. So something about this whole A-side shit, it ain't like, no, you're not like, look, let's put it this way. Let's say that the guarantees to the fighters should be I'll say $4 million for Crawford, maybe $5 million, because it is a big fight. Give Crawford $5 million, give Errol $6 or $7 million. And let the revenue split for the upside, if there is one, let the revenue split for the upside be 60-40, no less. Because Errol is not head and shoulders above Crawford when it comes to moving the needle. He's not.
He's not, that's the fact. And I think the most telling point is you can't be an A side when your own faction doesn't pay you like an A side.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Imagine Errol. I mean, imagine Anthony Joshua going out there. He goes out there against a Povetkin, and all they guarantee him is $2 million.
That's a joke. That's actually a joke. Okay, come on.
And you know what's amazing? You know what's amazing? Sorry, I'll give it to you unrivaled in a second. The point, since you went over to there, the point that Beats has made, he made in his video about the A side tactics is like you had a man, who's a clear A side. Money, like you can't if you're trying to argue that Fury deserves 50% of the financial split based on his draw, you're an idiot. But this man is willing to give him 50% because he wants to fight. And this is a clear A side. This is a clear A side. Only person, even Bob Arum would be an idiot to get on and be like, oh yeah, Fury, no, fam. You've taken a loss in every fight you've put this man on. You only broke even against Wilder. And the reason you didn't put him out this year is because you know that he's not going to bring back any revenue. The only reason Bob's not bitching about losing money with Fury right now is because he's gambling on making money back against AJ. So it's like, if man like that, who's a clear night and day A side, and he hasn't said it in like a way that, you know what I mean, in a dickhead way, but he's pointed out like, fam, if you could sell out stadiums, you would have been doing it. You get me?
Yeah.
So done your chat.
Everybody forgot that the Tom Schwartz fight, and you can look it up. The Tom Schwartz fight, the fucking Otto Berlin fight. Shout out to Otto and shout out to Otto's barber. Some of the best hits. But everybody forgot that. Look at the ticket sales for that fight, dog.
Mira, his barber's Dominican.
Of course. He's in New York, ain't he? Shit.
Yeah.
But look at the ticket sales. Just think about it. Look at what Fury is paid. Look at what his guarantee is, and look at the ticket sales for that fight. Realize it wasn't a pay-per-view, so you couldn't have made your money back there. You couldn't have. And look at the ticket sales for the fight. One fight, I think they only sold 5,000 tickets. Like, bruh, you lucky that AJ wants to fight you, because if he didn't, you'd be right there in the same situation as Errol and Terrence. They're lucky that Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua are willing to do whatever they have to do to make that fight, because by all rights, you don't actually deserve 50%. You don't deserve 50%. You don't, because you're not good for it. You could go out there against anyone else and you won't bring it back. Only with AJ do you bring it back. Only with that guy. Shout out to Anthony Joshua, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. Fantastic.
Hey, Julius, you know what? Eddie Hearn and AJ not fucking up like they did before. And I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. Long ago, with that whole Wilder situation, and they were sitting there, and I think Eddie came as close to 60-40. And Wilder was like, no, fuck it, I'm 50-50. I said long ago with that, I was like, bro, y'all so close, just give him the 50-50 and beat his ass. Which may be what they doing with Fury. I don't care how many people think that he wasn't deserving of it, he didn't deserve it. Just like you said, Fury don't really, when you look at it. But to get that deal done, Give it to him. Because look, AJ's gonna be worth so much more once he captures that. Same thing here with Spence and Crawford.
Now, to your point, D, I wanna say this though. What you have to realize is like also what, and I think what everyone has to realize is it's very easy for us to say just give it to him, right?
Yes, for sure.
It's because one, you know, like I said, I always say it's not my money, but it's also the precedence that it sets. If you cave in to the demands of a Wilder, right? See, the Wilder fight is in a different place than the Fury fight. Fury has already taken care of Wilder. There is no other super fight in the heavyweight division. There isn't. Now, when Wilder was in the conversation, there were two super fights. There's Joshua Wilder, which was it. That was the one we all wanted. But there was also Joshua Fury, which was gaining momentum. Whereas
no, Fury was done. He was retired, man. He wasn't even a factor.
No.
No, he was a factor because, hang on, Julius.
2018
in April,
2019 onward, 2018 and 2019 onward, that's 2 years. We're leaving 2020, all right? That's 2 years that fight was a conversation piece. And what I want you to notice, D, is that the people over there in the Middle East, you know, Qatar, all those different places out there, they started, you know, showing interest in staging Joshua versus Fury. You tell me why they never showed that interest for Wilder versus Joshua.
Additionally, yeah, you can't just say just give it to this thing because yes, Fury's not an A side, but Fury brings more to the table. The only reason Wilder was a conversation was because he couldn't keep Joshua's name out of his mouth. He was never worth that. And let's be honest, all the men them AJ's been calling out Fury since he beat Klitschko. Yeah. And let's not forget that Fury had a 60-40 offer for April 2018. Like he's been getting offers. So let's say now it's a generosity thing because No,
it's not just it's not just generosity. I've been saying this for 2 years. Joshua versus Fury is bigger than Joshua versus Wilder. Why?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I said.
Fury has paying customers that will travel. Wilder does not. Wilder has guys that are going to steal the fight with the fire stick and make videos about it on YouTube. That's what he has. And that's the difference. Fury has paying customers. Wilder does not.
But fans.
That's fair. Because they
yeah, but here we go. So back to the A side conversation. I think A side. The A side means that what we were trying to illustrate, as Pete has pointed out, A side means that fam, you move the needle by yourself, and if you don't, you can't make A side demands. Yeah, and so this thing is like your own outfit doesn't pay you like the A side. That's the one thing that I pointed out. Yeah, like it's been a lot of conversations, a lot of guys on quote unquote that side of the street claiming to be A sides, but when they chat shit to man them on other sides of the street, whether it be Haney or Crawford, they point out that fam, I make guaranteed more than you got to go on pay-per-view. Like Haney just pointed out, fam, I doubled up what you did against the same opponent. So you can't A-side me. And you can't A-side me financially.
They think A-side, see, and this is why we can only actually have this conversation with each other or anyone who knows anything about the infrastructure of the sport, of the business, that like, look, A-side, like you pointed out about Gervonta and Devin, it's like, bro, you didn't do anything with that fucking Leo Santa Cruz fight. Like, you didn't do anything with that. You want the world to believe that you, like, I don't even think they turned over a profit with that fight, if I'm being, because I'm like, yo, how could you have? How? We know the cable and satellite companies take damn near half of the whole goddamn, whatever's made, they take damn near half of that. All right? Yeah. They take damn near half of that. Then you got all these different fucking people that you got to pay. And what I see is, you know what? You would have made more money fighting Tevin Farmer on the zone. You the fighter, Gervonta Davis, and your manager and your promoter and whatever, y'all would have made more money taking the Tevin Farmer fight on the zone than what you just made with Leo Santa Cruz on pay-per-view, because that money was going directly from them to you. It was not contingent upon anything. It was $7 million for you. You want to gamble on pay-per-view, and your fans are idiots. They like, these dudes don't know how to use a calculator. 200 and something thousand bars on pay-per-view is nothing. That's nothing. You like the only way you turn over a profit with that amount of buys is if you didn't guarantee these guys shit. Like I don't know what's the guarantee, $500,000? Because I'm like, if the guarantee is like $2 million or $3 million, then you might have lost money. Realistically, you might have lost money. I don't see how you could have made money with those kinds of buys. I don't see how the Charlo brothers could have made money unless Al Heyman is in the business of laundering money, which I think he is. Because I mean, that's what I would do. Unless he's in that
That's
racket,
the only way. Because
how are you making money? How? None of these pay-per-views have cracked 500,000 buys, 400,000 buys, or 300,000. None of them. Not the ones this year, except for Wilder versus Fury at the beginning of the year.
Dons, can I chime in, please? Can I chime in?
Go ahead.
Big up the whole panel. Happy Boxing Day and all of that. Let me jump back to the whole Crawford and Errol thing. Yeah, this whole A side B side stuff is really pissing me off. You see this whole, Mark said it earlier. You know what? I'm pissed off with the welterweights. That was my weight class. Do you understand? I've been watching Errol since the Olympics. You understand? And when he was in the Olympics, Crawford was at 135. He went up to fight Bradus Prescott, went back down to 135. Came over here, smacked up Ricky Burns, big up Ricky Burns, smacked him up, and then went on his way. Do you understand? These times I didn't see him and Errol in the same bracket. Do you understand? So I'm watching Errol and I'm like, right, Errol's bad. This guy, he's on job. Then strap season. Do you understand? Start talking strap season. Crawford's doing his thing. Then he goes up to 140, unified and undisputed and all of that. I'm thinking, oh shit. Raw, he's gonna go 147, you know. He's going 147. Him and Errol, this is gonna be mad. So I'm thinking it's a madness because obviously Errol's talking strap season, rare. Gets the belt. Obviously the variables, you know, Kell Brook went and fought Gennady and rare variables. But it's all good. He took the fight, he lost the fight, fine. I'm like, raw, Errol, yeah, I'll give you your props, you know. It was hard work, but at the same time, he was up and coming. He was a prospect. He was a champion. Right, you beat him. Okay, cool. Now let's see the strap season thing. After that, he started moving funny.
Well,
After that, he started moving funny. Started talking. Do you remember that thing when he went? I can't remember whose fight it was, but he went up on the panel, on the platform, and everybody said he was drunk and he was talking all this stuff about.
Yeah. That was. I remember he was with Broner, he was with Dave.
He was with Broner and them man there, and all of them that were there with him, and they were like crew and all of that.
That's where.
Yeah, that's when he started moving.
Yep.
He started the street rubbish. Did you not see Crawford's did you not see Crawford's Insta Live the other day when he was like, they made up a whole street? Like Crawford is like, Ruba, they made up a whole street to avoid me from. I can't understand.
They're relying. This is and I want is for Bill Wenger to listen to this, what I'm about to say. I want Bill Wenger, I want Al Heyman, I want Tim Smith to listen to this. The demographic and the fans that you think are fans, right? The ones you're trying to market your brand to, these guys don't pay for boxing. That's what I've been saying that they don't pay for boxing.
That man ain't buying boxing.
I pay for boxing. So if you tell me when y'all told me y'all was gonna have a unification match between Jason Rosario and Jermel Charlo, I pulled out my wallet and I bought the fight. When you told me that you was gonna make an Errol Spence Jr. versus Sean Porter unification match, even though I was angry, I still pulled out my wallet and I bought the fight. If you think that I'm gonna pull out my wallet every single time for that hot garbage that y'all be putting out, it's not gonna happen. Now, if you pull out, if you make Crawford versus Spence, yeah, I'm pulling out my wallet, and you could charge $100 for it. I'm telling you, I'm gonna buy it. It could be $20. It could be $20 on top of the current buy rate. I will still pay for that fight. But if you think that I'm gonna pay to see Spence versus Ugas, no, Spence versus Ugas don't belong on pay-per-view. Period. It don't.
I don't understand why one of them interviewers don't say to Errol, so what's going on with strap season now? Is that finished now? Are you done with strap season? Because you're not on this thing no more. It's like even his his trainer's moving sideways, talking about pay-per-view buys, and you don't sell this, bro. The only reason you can sell over 250 buys is because you're fighting Mikey or because you're fighting Porter. You're not fighting, like, at the end of the day. Try and do that with the Ocampo or whoever he fought. That's not their 50K. Like them man there. This is the problem I'm having.
Yo, you
with
know
the
what?
whole.
You know what?
Go on. Let me just finish this quickly. Let me just finish this, big man. The problem I'm having, with the whole this fight, which I so want to see. This is the thing about it. I'm a fan of boxing. I love how Errol Spence fights. I love how Crawford fights. I want to see them two mesh. I want to see that. But I don't get why people are going on like Crawford needs to fight somebody. What the hell are you talking about? Like I tell you who got me all messed up.
Throw that narrative out the window because
I tell you who got me all messed up.
I hate to sound repetitive, but Mikey Garcia fought no one.
This is the facts. This is the facts. So not one person. You jumped up from.
Not about Crawford needs to do X, Y, and Z and go through the obstacle course.
It makes no sense.
He don't need to do shit. He don't. That's an excuse. And you know why they say it? You know why they say it? Because they're fucking scared. They're fucking
That's what
scared.
I don't want to believe that, bro. I really don't want to believe that them man are scared.
Don't believe it, bro. Don't believe it.
Hang on. You don't have to believe it.
No, because that means
I don't think you have to believe it.
Because I don't think. Sorry, 1 second.
You don't have to believe either fight. 1 second. Let me.
Why does one fighter who is unproven at the weight, two fighters that's unproven at the weight, why do they not have to go through a gauntlet? Why do they not have to go through a gauntlet? But this guy does. Oh no, you got.
Nobody wants to fight Crawford, bro.
You got to fight Sean. Why? Because Sean almost bust your ass. What you're hoping when you bring up Sean Porter, you know what you're hoping? That he beats Crawford because you don't want that fight. That's
real talk, you know. That's real.
I say Al doesn't want to fight Julius.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's who I'm saying.
Hang on, D. I just wanted to say that to my dude's point, real quick.
We've flown in Doc from the West Coast. He's going to come converse on the panel. Doc, what are your thoughts?
I was just going to say, I agree with my man that I don't think either fighter is scared. These guys, they do not have the kind of control that they like to make you think they have over their careers. They just don't. I agree with your point, Julius. And his point. There's somebody doesn't want it. Somebody don't want it, but I don't think it's the fighters. But somebody definitely doesn't want it.
I'll tell you who doesn't want it, Doc. Tim Smith, Bill Wanger, and so many were like. Go to Chris Mannix's podcast. In any of the videos that I posted about it, just look up that title of Chris Mannix's podcast. And in so many words, when he was interviewing Bill Wanger, who's their liaison to Fox or whatever, in so many words, that's what he's telling you, that we put priority on all these other in-house fights than we put on that Crawford fight. Before that, Tim Smith, the PBC vice president. That's the same shit he was saying. So it's the exact same shit. So if you're seeing,
I believe it.
So if you're seeing that, okay, this fight is not done, and it doesn't look like it's really ever going to be done. We'll see, but it's not done, and it doesn't look like we're close to seeing this fight. It's because the people at Fox, they don't put no priority on that fight. They keep trying to sell you alternatives, like the next alternative. And don't be surprised if Manny Pacquiao either vacates or is stripped of the WBA title. Jordanis Ugas is going to get elevated. He's going to, and I like the fight as a boxing fan. Yeah, I like Ugas versus Spence. That's still a
Banda.
Not for no 80.
I would have liked it. You know, if they'd done the right thing. But because they're going around it like a flipping bunch of punks, I don't want to see that. I bun that fight. Ugas should take that belt and go and fight Crawford. Listen, you see Errol and them, man, they are pissing me off, bro. They're taking the piss out of the fight game. They are taking the piss out of the fight game. Furman was offered the fight. He's chatting shit. Danny Garcia was offered the fight. He's chatting shit. Look at his dad talking about, why are you talking about PBC fighters? How does that make sense? How can the PBC put up a picture of welterweights that are champions and not include Crawford? That makes no sense. And it shouldn't be allowed. How can that be allowed?
It's the truth.
I don't get it. It's actually pissing me off.
It's pissing me off.
Doc, let me jump in.
Go for it, D. Go for it.
Doc, yeah, because I ain't said shit. My man in Linux just goddamn taking over the goddamn mic. Let me get in here, man. With the in this fight, right? What responsibility does Bob Arum have? Julie, that question is to you. Julie, that question is to Julie.
I can tell you the level of responsibility that Bob Arum has that most people aren't aware of, except for one guy. Hold on, except for one guy who knows exactly what's going on. He's currently in the comments, and his name is Alexis Rimbero. Bob Arum and Top Rank and ESPN are a game changer, and because the fight is not made, that's how I know that PBC doesn't want it, because they actually are affording you an opportunity that you don't have on your own. You're still going through the cable and satellite companies as your distributor. That's who you're going to. Whereas if you wanted to make this fight, you know that Top Rank has ESPN. They'll distribute it. But because you don't want the fight is why it's not done. And that's another story entirely. But the role of Bob Arum and Top Rank is simple. Who's the A-side fighter here? Or who's saying that they're the A-side? Is it Terrence Crawford? No, it's Errol Spence. So Al Heyman, put the money up. Your fight is the A-side fighter, right? You're king shit. You're the greatest. And you're a fucking genius, right? So put the fucking money up. Why haven't you put the money up? Put the money up. Simple.
See another thing to that as well.
PBC doesn't make these type of fights.
Okay. Who is that? No, because so you saying that they are the A-side or they aren't the A-side. Now, if you're saying that you're supposed to be the A-side, yeah, I get that. If they are the A-side, then we have to accept that the responsibility there.
Look, you're trying to make this a Bob Arum issue. That's what you're doing.
No, I'm going to make it a Bob Arum issue. You know that. You already know that.
It sounds like you want to make it it's not a Bob Arum issue when you have everybody on that side saying that this guy is the A-side fighter. So you're either going to hold him to his word or you're not. And you don't want to because you like Errol Spence. But for 2 years, Errol Spence Jr. has asserted that he is the A-side fighter. Okay, Captain A-side, put the fucking money up.
Okay, Julius, again, one thing you ain't gonna do, because I ain't no fucking smoke. I don't put my briefcase on for Al Heyman. I done flame the fuck out the PBC plenty of times. We ain't gonna do that here. It's no because I'm an Errol Spence fan. I don't do that fanboy and shit for nobody, Jay. So we won't even start that, right? This ain't about Errol Spence. This is about the narrative, fam. Now, the things that you say up here, Jay, I know it's true. But again, what is Bob Arum's responsibility? Not what is Bob Arum's responsibility if they're claiming they're the A-side. That's not what I asked. I said, what is Bob Arum's responsibility? And
Bob Arum's responsibility is to find an avenue to make the fight. What's the problem? And in truth, there is an avenue to make the fight. That's why Bob has been saying the same thing he's been saying for 2 years. I know it's the truth too. You could make that fight in 10 minutes. You could. Why isn't it being made? You think, oh, it's Bob. Really? It's Bob. Bob doesn't. All right, it's Bob then.
I say it's both of them.
No, it's
That's
not.
That's what I've been saying.
And bro, I'm telling you, that is bullshit. All right, Bob did Bob or did not Bob bring ESPN as a distributor to the table for Wilder versus Fury 2? And didn't Wilder versus Fury 2 end up doing exponentially more numbers than the first fight?
Sure it did, but that's heavyweight, not welterweight.
No,
and that matters too.
Their division has nothing
to do with it. That does have a lot to do with it.
No, it doesn't. Because what would if the heavyweight division is so goddamn popular, then what were they doing in the previous era in this country? What were they doing? Was Klitschko a big popular guy in America just because he was a heavyweight? No, he wasn't.
What division is it easier to make money at, Julius? Like, look, see this negotiate. Look, I'm not. This is the thing. You got a lot of these PBC fans.
You're trying to assign blame.
No.
Like, oh well, the reason that the Crawford and Spence fight isn't made is because of something that Bob Arum isn't doing. You tell me, what is it that you want him to do? From another kind of way, you tell me what is it that he needs to do? What? Because I know what he needs to do, and I know what needs to happen, and I see why it's not happening, and it ain't because of fucking.
Can I chime in for a second? Can I just make one point? Yeah.
How many? All right, go ahead, Lance.
All right, so see, there's a point that those who understand the business of things, yeah. I think I brought this up with man like Jules a few times, yeah. You can't claim to be an A side and ask another man to send the offers. Those two things don't go in the same sentence. All right, and I hate to keep going to this, but it's the easiest clear A side example. How many times in his reign as the cash cow of international or whatever global boxing have you had someone else sending AJ offers? How many times? Please find me an example of when an opponent sent AJ an offer.
Look,
Okay,
Canelo,
hold on.
we don't have to go to AJ. We could go to Canelo. Do you think Canelo waits around? Do you think Canelo sits on his hands and waits for Bob to send him an offer or waits for Eddie? No, bro.
No,
Canelo.
you know what? No. You know why I picked that example? Because we've had. Hang on. Let me just finish.
Jump in, bro, because you just said one word when you cut me off, and now you're going back again. Like, let me get 2 words in edgewise, Lennox, because I know you like to talk a lot, fam. Right? Let me get in here for a second. Now, Jules, and Lennox, I think. Both of y'all just set up here and gave a scenario, right? Gave a scenario on the purse split. You know, Spence gets the 6 or 7, Crawford gets the 5, and then so you guys set up here and pretty much gave a 60-40 scenario. Is that true? Because that's what I thought I heard when I came in. Is that true?
No, hold on.
So what was you saying then?
Hold on. This is what I'm trying to tell you. I told you the reason that the fight is not happening is because Terrence Crawford guaranteed, his contract guarantee is more than what Fox is guaranteeing Errol Spence Jr. I gave you a solution that do you think that I know more about it than Bill Wanger? Bill knows what I know. That look, if we wanted to make this fight, you guarantee Terrence Crawford maybe $5 million. Maybe you guarantee Errol 6. I don't know, because you guys don't seem to be guaranteeing him very much. And people need to notice that. Why is it that Terrence Crawford's contract guarantee, why is it bigger than what Errol Spence Jr. is guaranteed to be on a pay-per-view? Why is it? And
because Bob's losing money, that's why.
What happened?
Because Bob is losing money over it. That's why. So because Bob is paying him more. Hold on. See, y'all don't like to hear this shit neither. Like, anytime I start to say something, either you or Lennox want to jump in there and cut me off, right? And again, I ain't making this about no Al Heyman or Bob Arum. I'm making this about both of those motherfuckers, as I always have. So I'm not quite blank. Hold on, let me get it off.
If we're gonna stick to it, if we're gonna stick to what we were saying before, I asked you a very specific question and you didn't give me an answer. And I
got cut off by Lennox before I could.
I don't want.
Now, come on, keep it real, fam.
I don't want anybody to jump in. I'm asking you a simple question. What is it that you want Bob Arum to do?
Come clean, fam. That's what I want him to do. And I'll tell you why. Come clean. Because to me, we're hearing a whole bunch of. To me, it's like this. Is what I'm hearing. No disrespect to you, Julius. I'm just hearing shit from the other side, fam. When I hear about this Crawford Spence, it's either I hear all of these people from fucking PBC saying it's their fault, and what I'm hearing from here is it's just PBC. And with me, maybe my understanding is skewed, but like, I see full of shit coming from both of them, because you're telling me that Crawford's purse is this, that, and the third. He gets this guaranteed, but his fucking promoter saying he's losing money on him. So here's my hold up. See, there we go. Let me get 2 words out, man.
You're going on a rant. You didn't answer. I didn't ask you to go on a rant. I asked you to answer my question, and you still haven't. Now, let me dispel that for you. Do you know why Bob is losing money on Terrence Crawford?
Explain it.
Because he's guaranteed to pay him $4 million regardless who he steps in the ring with. Now,
that's what I know.
Now, when was that contractual amount of money? When did they reach that agreement? 2 years ago, when Crawford was more popular, when he had the most watched fight of 2018. So it made sense to guarantee him $4 million a fight, because he just had the most watched fight in combat sports, not just boxing. The most watched fight in combat sports on a cable network was Terrence Crawford versus Jose Benavidez Jr. That is a simple matter of fact. That's why Bob is losing money, because he has to pay Crawford in 2020. Wait, he has to pay Crawford in 2020 as if it's 2018, when it's not 2018, but this guy's still guaranteed $4 million a fight, regardless of whatever. He's guaranteed $4 million a fight. You asked, why is Bob saying he's losing money? That's why.
Okay. So all of that's established now. So in 2020, not no fucking Benavidez fight. In 2020, is Crawford worth everything that the Crawford fans are clamoring on that he's worth? That's my thing. See, it's a two-edged sword here. If the motherfucker did give him,
No, I'm gonna ask
come on, bro, come on with that shit, Julius. Come on with that, fam.
I'm asking you a question. What were the numbers for Benavidez versus Crawford? Do you remember the TV rating?
No, I don't fucking remember the numbers.
All right,
No, I don't. I don't even claim to remember that.
Let me tell you then. The numbers for Crawford Benavidez were comparable to the numbers he just put up with Kell Brook. Literally. Like, they're comparable. They're in the same neighborhood. The Benavidez fight, a little bit more people watch that fight, a few more, but the numbers are comparable. So if the question is Crawford good for in 2020 what he was good for in 2018, the answer is yes. Simple.
That's not what Bob's saying. So you telling me this? That's why I say I answered your question.
No.
I see. No. You gotta let me get 2 words out. That's why the answer to your question was, Julius. The answer to your question was, and you can rewind it. Bob need to come clean. Now I'm listening to Julius telling me all of this bullshit, right? I'm listening to you, but Bob ain't singing the same song you singing, fam. You got to keep it real about that.
No. I told you on this channel, forget telling you. I said this weeks ago. I know why he's losing money on Crawford. It's not a mystery why he's losing money on Crawford. It's not. You're in a division where you can't get certain fights. Now, what I asked you a question. It's a very specific question. What does Bob coming clean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What is it you want? What is it that Bob is not doing that's preventing this fight from happening? What is it?
When I say come clean, I don't think that Crawford's numbers, what he's selling, what he's doing, how much money he's making, I don't think that the correct image is being put out there. It's not. Because listen, if these guys think that they're ASAP, what is the whole network or whole other side just idiot? There's reasons for them to be pushing and thinking that.
Not about them being idiots.
For the love of God. Okay, I'm done answering questions. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you didn't.
Julius, I sit there and I look at you, be quiet while other people's talking.
All right,
I cannot get more than 2 sentences out without you cutting me through.
But D, you're not answering my question. I asked you a very simple, specific question. What is it that Bob's not doing? You're talking to me about figures. I know that those figures are real because they're not coming from Top Rank or ESPN. The viewing figures come from Nielsen Media and Research. That's not a Top Rank outfit. That's not an ESPN outfit. So I know that the numbers are real. That's the first thing. The purses are based on the local state commission. That's where the purses, that's who they report those purses to. That's where that's coming from. Once again, that's not Top Rank or ESPN. That's the state commission, depending on what state the fight is taking place. So this is not, Top Rank is saying this, and then it's no, that's kiddie shit. That's little kid shit. We already know those viewing figures, they're real. That's one. And those purse amounts, they're real too. That's two. So that's out of here. That has nothing to do with nothing. What is Bob Arum not doing that's preventing this fight from happening? That's a very simple question.
If Spence is not the A side, as you guys are saying, I suppose, as you guys are saying, he's not the A side. What Bob is supposed to do is counter offer or something. No, he's not the A side. Let's do it like this. Have they done that, or have they just said, "I'm not hearing that. I'm not taking this. I'm not." That's one thing he could fuck.
So right? Your solution.
No. Now answer my question. If Spence is not the fucking A side, right? There is something he can do about it, right?
Go ahead, D. This is your solution. This is what you're saying Bob needs to do.
I'm asking you a question. It's not my solution. I'm asking you a
question. Can I respond after you all are done? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just want D to finish his sentence.
Okay. Can he make an offer then? If they're not A side, Crawford ain't taking no fucking 60-40 my way. Bob saying whatever the fuck he's saying. Have they thrown an offer up? Because if they're not the A side, then they could play the A side, right? They could put the offer out there, right? Or is it just cry about them not being the A side and the fight ain't happening?
Now, I'm going to answer your question. First, Bob can send an offer, right? He could. In theory, anybody could in that situation. In theory, anybody could. What's the problem with your solution? You want Bob Arum to bear the full brunt of the risk, and that's not how this works. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. When Fury joined Top Rank, it was a joint pay-per-view. Fox bore some of the risk. ESPN bore some of the risk. That's why the fight got made. because they both decided to take on the risk. Now Bob already has the stake $4 million at minimum, which in all likelihood he'd have to put up more than that for Crawford versus Spence. But at minimum, he has to stake $4 million of his own money for that fight. And you're saying that he also has to stake money for Spence too, right? He has to stake more millions for him too. Who's going to want more than Crawford? So basically the solution is Bob has to stake close to $10 million when Errol Spence Jr. has the network of Fox behind him. Does that make sense financially? This is why the fight isn't happening. Now I'm giving you the meat and potatoes. A lot of people aren't going to understand this, but this is why the fight is not happening, and this is why I personally think it may never happen, because that is what the PBC is waiting for. They inflate their own numbers. They inflate their own numbers.
Wait a minute.
They inflate their own numbers to give the people on the other side of the street a misrepresentation of their fighters' market value, so that a promoter like a Bob or a promoter like an Eddie Hearn will give them an inflated number. You know, that's why Eddie Hearn was willing to put up $7 million for Jermall Charlo. Even though we see, once you put Charlo out there, once you put him on a pay-per-view, we see what you're worth. And it ain't no $7 million.
Hang on. Can I just come in for a second, Julius? Just FYI, they inflate the numbers for the general public because anyone who's inside boxing has access to the real numbers. So that inflated numbers is to control the external narrative because it does nothing for internal negotiations. Because if I sit on the panel, right, so we both know each other, right? So if I sit on the panel and go, hey, I make XYZ or I do XYZ, but you and I know the truth, what I'm saying only affects the people that don't know the truth. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's all I was gonna say.
All right, cool. So now, Julius, with that explanation, and I hear what you're saying. So Bob is exonerated because it's on the PBC to make the offer because they're hollering at their A side. Now, if they're talking 60-40 and your fighter is saying it ain't no damn 60-40, right? Then how do they make the offer? If this is what they're saying, like I'm not saying that any offers was made because I don't believe anybody sent any paperwork through. But if this is what they're saying, we're 60-40 and Top Rank, Bob is just supposed to sit back and allow them to make the offer. But the fighter is saying, fuck that, ain't no 60-40, I'm 60-40. Then how are they exonerated from it? Is my thing. Like, how does that automatically exonerate that side from it? If you're saying that the responsibility is there.
All right.
Can I step in now, or is it?
Let me go.
Let me answer the question.
Let me go and I'm gonna pass it to Troy. A long time ago, I'll say maybe 3-4 months. Bob said, you know, they brought up a Errol Spence Jr. quote to Bob Arum, and Bob Arum's demeanor towards the quote is the reality of it. Who cares what he said? What Errol Spence Jr. is telling the media has absolutely nothing to do with how this fight is going to be negotiated. Literally nothing. Like, it has nothing to do with it. He could sit there and say 60-40, 70-30. The reality of it is, like, what a lot of channels do is we focus on what the fighter's saying just because we're trying to hold that fighter to their word. But the reality of it is, Spence isn't the one that's going to sit down and negotiate this fight. It's going to be Al Heyman, Bill Wenger, Bob Arum, Todd Duboff, and the people over there at ESPN. That's who's going to negotiate the fight. I could offer a solution that is very simple. It's very simple. Let Top Rank stake whatever they have to stake. Agree on a number. The guaranteed purchase for the fighters, agree on a number. Let Top Rank guarantee Crawford and flip the bill, whatever they have to flip. Let Fox flip the bill for Errol, whatever they have to flip. And all you guys have to do is come to an agreement of the upside. Come to an agreement when it comes to that. And that's it. The problem with that is, who's not coming to the table? The PBC is not coming to the table because they keep telling you, and it's not coming from Errol, it's coming from a network executive. That's who you have to pay attention to. Bill Wenger, not Errol Spence Jr. Bill Wenger, he told y'all already, yo, we got a lot of fights. We got a lot of other fights that we can make for Errol aside from Crawford. He said that already. Doesn't that tell you everything you need to know? When the people that put together the graphics for a PBC broadcast, when they put together a graphic, you know that they're receiving orders. You know that they're being told what to put up. You understand that? So when they're being told what to put up and you don't see Crawford, doesn't that tell you everything you need to know? ESPN, if I watch ESPN, my guy Andre Ward and his great haircuts, my guy Tim Bradley, they don't hesitate to mention the PBC. They mention them. They talk about them. If I go over to Fox, oh nah, the WBO. Oh nah, that's not relevant. Bill Wenger, an executive, not a boxing guy, not a promoter, not a trainer. He told y'all we don't view the WBO as relevant on Fox in so many words. But I'm supposed to wait for Bob to do something. When Bill Wenger is telling me, yo, we don't view that belt as relevant. We don't view that fight as relevant. We got a lot of other fights that we could make besides that fight. Why am I going to be putting the focus on Bob then? Moreover, why would I expect Bob to pay Errol? That's ridiculous. Like, Bob has to pay Crawford and Errol? Wow, where's Al Heyman?
So what you telling me, why are you saying all of this, right? Forget about what Spence says. Forget about what Spence says. And I'm in line with a lot of this because, again, I keep putting it on the suits anyway. You know, this is one of the things I'm really trying to dig through. So you're telling me that Wenger is saying this, that, and the third. Forget about what fucking Spence says with the 60-40. Then why the fuck are we sitting here saying Spence don't want to fight and talking about 60-40?
You know
right?
Why?
If 60-40 is fucking relevant, is it relevant or not? Is it Wenger or is it Spence?
Do you know why we bring up whatever
record? I said that Al and them don't want it. Just
yeah, me too, Doc. I've been saying this for a long time. Me too.
All right, now the reason that I bring up, and I can only speak for myself. Everyone else can feel free to disagree. Canelo Alvarez didn't have to fight Erislandy Lara, but he wanted to. He didn't have to fight him, but he wanted to. Oscar, the people at Golden Boy didn't want him to have that fight, but he did, and that's the game changer. When the fighter wants the fight, he puts all the other people that are out there in a situation where we have to make it. We have to find a way because he wants it. Now, Errol,
hang on, Julius, hang on, Julius. You just hit on a good point there.
No, because I want to step in because I think I had next. So you mind if I step in now and make my quick point? Real quick. I'll be real quick. Okay. Okay. Go ahead, man.
Canelo. Neither one of these guys, Julius. You and I both know this. Neither one of these guys, whichever one of them might be a relative A side to the other, neither one of them is a A side the way Canelo has been an A side pretty much since he's been on TV. Not even in the same ballpark. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, you know what I was going to say before we go down this road of minutia and madness and everything else. Because Spence, I'm going on the fact that Spence says that he's the A side, right? What does he bring to make him the A side? And we could just settle it like that. What does he bring to make him the A side? And settle it like that. And if he is the A side, where's the offer to Crawford? And not saying that he has to take anything that we just give him, whether it be 70-30 or whatever the case may be. Why don't they? What does he bring that makes him the A side?
Well, I would say a lot of people are going to find this surprising. I view Spence as the A side for two reasons. If I'm a network or I'm a business owner, Errol Spence can put a figure out there that I can try to capitalize on depending on how I move the numbers around. At least I know, okay, Errol can bring me back 200,000 buys, right? So I can play with the numbers in a way where I can turn over a profit. I would really have to play with them, though, with a buy rate that's that low. But ultimately, he's got 2 belts. He has yielded more pay-per-view buys than Crawford. In the general sense, Errol Spence is not the A side of shit. But compared to Crawford, okay, well, you've been on pay-per-view 2 times. He's been on pay-per-view 3 times. Every time he was on pay-per-view, he brought in more numbers than you did. So it's safe to say that you might be entitled to a little more than him. A little more. Not a lot more, a little more. That's the thing, a little more. The
relative A side. That's what I meant by
that. Exactly. It's like relative A side. Like, you're not head and shoulders above this guy in terms of market value because your figures, if I'm being honest, it looks like they're losing money on you. They're not going to say that. They're not going to put it out there, but it looks like they're losing money on you because you can, like, for example, I don't know what he really made for the Danny Garcia fight. The guaranteed purses, they put the number at about 1.5 million. I'm looking at that and I'm like, yo, that makes sense. There's no way in hell you can guarantee Errol Spence Jr. $4, $5, or $6, $7 million for this pay-per-view unless you want to lose money. Unless you want to lose money, then you could do that. Nobody's in the business of losing money, last I checked.
Okay, quick question now. You know, we always hear what these dudes don't want. Does anybody know what either fighter wants to make the fight? Because throughout the years, we've always heard, I don't want this, I don't want that. Does anybody actually know what
They
they
both
want?
want 60%.
Yeah, they both want 60%.
Okay. Well, that's where you come to the table, and if you really want to fight, then you negotiate like men, and you say, let's do this and that. Not because to me,
Troy, Errol,
I'm really sick.
Troy,
I'm really sick and tired of talking about these fights because, in all honesty, Crawford and Spence is just going to be like Wilder and Joshua. It'll never happen.
Bro,
It'll never happen.
I'm telling you right now, I firmly believe that it's not as simple as the networks and the suits don't want to fight. I know they don't want to fight, otherwise they would have made it by now. I know they don't want to fight. I'm telling you that I'm looking at it, and nah, Errol don't want that fight. He'd rather go fight Canelo. He'd rather fight Mikey Garcia. Look, you had this.
And why would Canelo fight him?
Hang on.
Of course, you're right. You 100%
Can
right.
I just clear?
Okay, well, somebody just said that they both want 60%, right? Do you agree with that or not, Julie? That they both
I agree that you know why I think Terrence Crawford wants 60%? Because he knows, like, dog, I'm guaranteed $4 million a fight, regardless of whatever. There was a recent quote, a lengthy article that was talking about a lot of things that Terrence Crawford said, and he said, I never said I was leaving Top Rank. Well, of course, why the fuck would you want to? Top Rank and ESPN are guaranteeing you $4 million a fight against anyone from Benavidez to motherfucking Egas. Like, bro, I wouldn't want to leave either, all right? So if I'm looking at that, I'm like, bro, you're not going to pay me peanuts. I hope you don't expect me to walk in the ring with you and take less than what I'm supposed to be getting, because I get guaranteed more money than you do, and that's a fucking fact. You might, maybe, and I don't even know, because it's all based on the upside with you guys. You're not guaranteed much money. Neither you or Danny or Sean. Think about it. What went to the fight is guaranteed to Errol, to Sean, is basically Terrence Crawford's guaranteed purse. I'm guaranteed more money than they were willing to put up for the both of yous. They only put up $4 million for the both of yous. I get that fighting Brooke. You're not gonna throw peanuts at me. So I see where you're coming from. Most people, once again, they don't understand that. My guaranteed purse is more than your network is willing to guarantee for you. Who the fuck are you to offer me peanuts? Who are you?
Okay, now, so do you, Julius, agree that Crawford should be 60-40? Do you agree with that?
It depends on what the 60-40 is. If the 60-40 is the upside of the pay-per-view, right? That's not money that's being put up. That's hypothetical, let's hope for the best money. Then I'd say, yes, take the 60-40. Take 60-40 of the upside. If Crawford has to get more guaranteed than Spence, so be it. My question to you is, do you think Spence is going to go for that? Wait, y'all going to guarantee Crawford? Wait, well, think about it. This is why I keep telling you that I don't think they're going to fight. Because I think Errol and his people... Wait. So you telling me that Crawford is guaranteed more bread than me? Nah, fuck that. That don't make sense. I sell more pay-per-view. And that's why I don't think the fight is going to get made. That's why.
I don't either. I don't think that Spence is going to go for that either. But if somebody's going to sit here and try to justify that Crawford should get the 60-40, I'm saying that that's a problem as well, right? If Crawford's pushing 60-40, just like my man said, both of these fighters want the 60% share, right? And ain't neither of them fucking getting it, fam. So I don't care if we agree with Crawford. If that's not what's going to happen, I don't want to hear it's one way. This is what I keep saying, fam. I don't want to hear this shit this one way because it's only an argument.
It is one way because it's not. This conversation about things that aren't happening isn't limited to Crawford versus Spence. This is just one fight in 10 fights that I can name off the top of my head that they have fucked up. This is just one of the latest ones. This is just.
I agree with that. Again, I'm no PVC.
When we talk about Crawford and Spence, that's just the latest conversation we have. Like, look at what Peter Quillen wanted for a Gennady Golovkin fight. Like, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago? Are you crazy, bro? Look, are you crazy? He's not even getting that. How are we
Hang
giving
on.
that to you?
Hang on. Can I get in edgewise just quickly? Yeah, because man's got to defend himself. There was a bit of slander thrown my way earlier by D. D, I think everyone here can confirm that I am not a Bob Arum apologist. I actually dislike Bob Arum probably more than, I don't know, as much as all of them. Julius, can we confirm this? Because
Yeah,
he
almost threw
accused
up
me of
watching Bob
defending
eat
Bob, and I've
the
never.
sandwich. He almost threw up watching Bob eat a sandwich.
Huh?
Didn't you say you was about to throw up?
I've never. Yeah.
Lennox,
This is
This is
nah.
just
Look.
real quick.
that won't towards you, Lennox. That was towards my brother, mi hermano, Julius.
No, because you said both of us. You said both of us. But hang on.
I know. But that was
Hang
more
on. Let me.
towards
Okay.
you.
Bob.
Okay. Let me.
This is why I understand Bob. This is why I understand Bob. Bob is a money guy. He's a numbers guy, right? I understand Bob. I understand Bob because I'm a money guy. I'm a figures guy. And when I look at what's happening, I see why things are the way they are. And I hate to say it, it's not because of Bob. I'm sorry. If it's money to be made, then Bob is going to make it. Prime example,
Yeah.
Ramirez versus Hooker. Yo, look, Jose, they got $4 million for you over on that side of the street. I'm not going to stop you from getting it because, look, I'm not going to give it to you. I ain't got $4 million for you. But so if you want to go over there and get it, go get it.
Yeah, that's a valid point. And then back to the Spence Crawford conversation. Listen, yeah, my understanding of a 60-40 from the Crawford side, that was a tongue-in-cheek jab said in response to what Spence has said. I think Crawford's argument was essentially, yeah, I'm guaranteed $4 million. I'm not doing anything for less than my guarantee. And he's been constant on that in all his conversations. He's been more than happy, yeah, to whether it be 50-50, it's not about the split with him. He's just like, fam, I'm not going anywhere for less than my guaranteed $4 million. Additionally, Julius had brought up a point of the Lara Canelo situation, yeah. If you want to bang this man up, pause, yeah, this man has disrespected you. He's come up to you face to face. Remember, Canelo fought Lara because Lara ran up on him.
Yep.
Lara pressed up on him, got on the Latin shit, got in his chest and tested his manhood. And he said, yo, fam, fuck all this. I know it's a dangerous fight, whatever. You lot go pay the judges, do whatever, but I go fight this guy because he tested me, right? We haven't seen that same energy. We haven't seen that same energy from Spence, yeah? Because man ran up on him, mano a mano, face to face. Hey, yo, big man, wagwan. And I can say this for a fact, yeah? Because I've also seen the same sort of demure energy. Because I was right there next to Spence when Cal ran up on him asking for a rematch, and he was like, nothing to do with it. Let's be honest. I have, Julius, I'll send it to you. I have a phone video. I was working this thing where it was the Lara Hurd fight. Yeah, that man went back and forth on Twitter. Cal showed up and said, listen, let's do it again. And you know what? Spence was like, nothing to do with it. Same energy. And you know what I mean? I think Inland Revenue should look at these PBC, man, because they chatting shit about how much they make.
Yo, dog.
But
look.
hang on. Let me just finish, yeah? When man ran up on him and said, let's bet X amount of money, you know who didn't hesitate about $1 million, putting $1 million on the fight? so maybe
let me say this, and this is why I don't like the PBC brand. The brand is structured as if they're selling music artists. You're not selling prize fighters. And you can fool the fight fans that don't know nothing about this business. You can fool them. You can't fool me, dog. There's no
That's
way
his
you
background,
make a
Julius.
profit off these
That's
guys.
his background. So it's not surprising he does things that way. I'm not saying it makes it right, but I'm saying that's his background. And we've talked before about the shit with his brother. There's reasons that we can put together. Again, I'm not saying it's not annoying or frustrating, but you can piece together why Al is the way he is. You get me?
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. And I want to make a point, though. I want to make a point. I'm going back to your Canelo example. Do you think, honestly, for 1 second, Spence has the kind of stroke with Al that Canoli had with De La Coca?
No.
All right.
No, actually, Actually, yes, I do, because I know that the promotional engine. Wait. I know.
Here, all right.
Promotional engine Well, who decided to go in their filing cabinet during the live?
Huh. Not me.
I know that the promotional engine is behind Errol Spence Jr. They got a lot riding on that guy. That's one. Fox has a lot riding on that guy. That's two. So if he says make the fight, you're gonna put them in a situation where they have to. But that's if you want the fight. That's if you want it. Now I know
okay, let me put it another way. Do you think Cannoli, or do you think Spence is making Al the kind of money Cannoli made De La Coca? Because I know there's parted ways now.
No, we can't.
All right, that's where I'm going with this, and this is why I am with Mark and a couple others I've heard say this. I'm sick to death of this conversation because neither one of these motherfuckers is Sugar Ray Leonard, Oscar De La Coca in his prime, Money Mayweather. Neither one of these guys are these motherfuckers, and they're acting like they're all of them rolled into one.
You're right.
All right. Neither one of these guys.
They never will be. They never will be.
By the traditional standards of American boxing, especially welterweights, neither one of these is, and this is what I got from Beats' video, neither one of these is a real A side. They're a relative A side, maybe.
Look, but this is the other thing too, and this is gonna sound funny coming from me because everybody knows I hate Oscar, right? But Oscar showed more fighting spirit than any of these guys. You know damn good and well he didn't have to fight Felix. He didn't have to.
He was a star, though, Julius. He was a star. These guys
he was stars. A superstar. He was a superstar. He wasn't a star.
Yeah.
He was a superstar. Now,
I got a question.
No. Let me ask you this question.
Hold on. Go ahead, Troy.
Okay. Huh?
Go ahead, Troy. It's your turn.
Yeah. Because you said you hated Oscar. Oscar's the complete opposite of these dudes. Oscar took fights that he didn't have to fight because of his status. Oscar didn't have to fight Trinidad. He didn't have to fight Vernon Whitaker because he had the status already. He had the status. He could have went and fought guys that were like a level of, under them and just made a bunch of money and retired. But he took those chances, he took the losses, and he kept coming back. These dudes are not even doing a fraction. These dudes are not doing anything like that. Nothing.
Nothing. And this is what I'm gonna say, that Oscar and a lot of guys think that all of us are being Joe Buttons about the shit when we bring up the previous era. But I'm telling you that in the previous era, all right, I noticed the fighters themselves felt the level of responsibility to the paying public, and that's why fights got made. Like Oscar didn't have to fight Vargas, he didn't have to fight Trinidad, he didn't have to fight.
I got a question. Does Oscar have a
wait?
And they wanted to be great, Julius. Go ahead, whoever.
And Oscar, and if we took Oscar and what he did, he moved up, he ends up robbing Felix Sturm. Let's call it what it is, right? Because you didn't win that fight.
He robbed Sweet P2. He robbed Sweet P2.
But what I notice is, let that have happened in this era. Oscar don't fight Hopkins. I'm telling you, he don't fight Hopkins.
Yeah, I got a question.
If it was one of this era's fighters in the situation that Oscar was in, like, damn, I just had to rob Felix Sturm. Should I fight Bernard Hopkins? Hell, motherfucker, no. That's what these guys.
No, I got a question. Did Oscar have an R&B album?
Oh yeah, it was great too.
That tells you Oscar was a star. You know what I mean? When they let you put out a music album, if they let you put out a music album, and I'm gonna give you a few examples: Deion Sanders, Shaquille O'Neal.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's how you know you're a star, fam. If you can put out a music album, you are a star. Oscar De La Coca, Roy Jones, fam. If you go sell a platinum record, you're a star.
Yeah.
So these men are not in the same category. We can't have that conversation.
But that's my point. That look, what makes them rely on these kinds of shenanigans is they say that there's basically their level of celebrity. Like Errol Spence is supposed to be Mr. Big in the Britches at 147 pounds. He's saying that he's it. And what I'm saying is, in the previous era, a guy like Oscar, you've never achieved the level of success that he did. We know that. Like, hindsight is 2020. You're not where Oscar was at welterweight. So who the fuck are you to assert yourself as the A side and all this extra? It's like, nah, bro. Good.
Yeah, I just wanted right. So when Oscar was doing all that, it was a previous era, right? And I also believe most eras change because of cult of personality. When I look at when Floyd's era, right, and what he went on to do, and everything. He did, and whether people like it or not, he created a cult of personality amongst boxing fans and amongst newer fighters of the O. And I think a lot of fighters are terrified of risking their all, because we're talking about Oscar De La Hoya always coming back and bouncing back. It was because if you took a loss, fans didn't throw you to one side. Nowadays, they do. They toss you off the bridge. You're a nothing guy. If like Keith Thurman lost to Manny Pacquiao, all of a sudden he's the worst welterweight on the planet. Like straight up, that's what people are. I've literally heard the dude can't box. I've heard those words out of people's mouth. It's a bit ridiculous. Like if this was a previous era, that wouldn't be happening. Guys like Lara taking a loss or whatever, he wouldn't be getting the type of shit. Golovkin getting a loss against Canelo, all of a sudden he's a trash middleweight, doesn't matter. Crap as can be. And that happens continuously amongst fans. So the cult of personality and the persona of the O is affecting the risks that these guys are going to be able to take, which is going to essentially fuck up all pay-per-view modules, because these guys won't take the risks. They won't fight the best fights because they know they've only got one chance to really make anything of themselves, and that's the problem.
I disagree. Al Heyman's model relies on something that does not apply to any fighter on his stable, and that is Floyd Mayweather Jr. That's what his model relies on, that kind of a formula. And not a single fighter you have fighting for you under the PBC banner has the work ethic or the talent of a Floyd Mayweather Jr. And that's why it doesn't work. If they were like Floyd...
Never mind. None of them are that big a star, Julius.
Exactly. So you have a bunch of guys like Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, guys like this. They think that their market value is a certain way. They demand certain purse amounts. And because they won't fight unless they get that amount, they won't fight. That creates this environment. Because the truth of it is, if you want me to be honest, just completely idealized and forget about everything, to me, it should be 50-50. Why? Guarantee Crawford more money and give Spence a bigger share of the pay-per-view upside. Problem solved. That's how you do it. Are they going to go for that? No. Who's going to resist it more? PBC. You think they're going to be okay with Terrence Crawford being guaranteed more money than the unified champion? No, they're not going to be okay with that. They don't care about doing what they have to do to make a fight. They don't care. All right, now, Bob.
That wasn't what I was implying, though. I'm
not saying that you were. I'm saying that ultimately this is what's going on. If the people at the PBC really cared about making fights, Wilder and AJ would have fought already. They offered you 40% and $15 million guaranteed. You didn't even want to take that. And that's before DAZN offered you $100 million. You didn't even want to take that. You're not willing to do what you have to do to make fights. You're not.
Well,
the PBC put all the responsibility on everyone else.
The PBC
that are too good to be true.
The PBC model seems to be based off of calculated risk in business. Like calculated risk, like the highest reward for the lowest amount of risk. Like for example, they thought that Tyson Fury was going to be something that give them a high level of reward on Wilder's resume, possibly like the whole lineage shit and all, whatever. Beating Fury. No, hold on, Lennox, before you start laughing at it. This was the entire game plan, true or false. That was the biggest name outside of Joshua that he could have fought, other than maybe Dillian White. And Fury's a pretty large name in terms of like, once again, cult of fucking personality. He
and we all thought he was going to get knocked out. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it didn't go the right way. So the calculated risk fell off. It's a marination process. They've continuously been doing it. They'll continue to continuously do it unless it's in-house. Whereas you'll see the better guys fighting each other. Look at 154. That division, a lot of people will just say the division isn't that good. The reality is, over the last 3 years, it's put on the best level of competition outside of maybe 150, outside of 140 and 115 in the entire sport, where all the best guys are fighting each other.
You know what I would say though? I would say because of the pandemic here, you can see that there's an urgency from, like, let's say Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum to get good fights out there.
Exonerate.
With PBC,
Exonerate.
Say that again. Hello? Can you guys
I think they said exonerated?
Keep going. He said exonerated. Keep going there, Base. Keep going.
No, South London.
Oh, my bad, man. I can't tell anybody anymore. Too many names. My bad.
But yeah, basically what I'm saying is because of the pandemic, they've realized that maybe there's going to be a lot of money going out of boxing. So what other promoters are trying to do is line up the big fights and get them going. Whereas PBC, they're just trying to sort of continue down their own model, which is fighting each other. And I'm literally getting tired of seeing these guys just fight each other. I actually want to see them jump into boxing, like the wider range of boxing, and fight
And
on other promotional platforms.
it's the reason it's not gonna happen, right? And I'm being serious. I'm not like, sometimes, you know, we fuck around, we say shit to take the piss. But the reason I don't think it's gonna happen is because the PBC has too much to lose in that situation. Bob finds blue chip prospects like every other fucking day, bro. He's not putting it all on a single fighter the way that the PBC is putting it on a single fighter. Like he really isn't. Like, look, Loma lost. Is Bob losing sleep over that? No, he's got Teofimo. And if Teofimo loses, he'll have someone else. If Crawford loses, he'll have someone else. You see what I mean? He's been doing this for 50 fucking years, and I don't think enough emphasis is placed on that. That this is not your garden level rookie, bro. Like, this is Bob Arum, bro. 50 years of boxing. That's who that is, bro. So he knows better than to stake it all on a singular fighter. Now, at the PBC, the people at Fox and the PBC themselves, they're very careful with what they have because they really don't have that much. I don't know where this illusion came from that they have this deep. No, they don't, dog. And they don't have the relationships either, which is worse. Because you can't even borrow from your allies. Like, Top Rank will borrow a fighter from Yvonne Michelle. Or they'll borrow a fighter from a Frank Warren or somebody like that. They're cool with each other. Eddie has those kinds of relationships too. The PBC don't have those kinds of relationships. Which means whatever you got, that's all you got, bro. You got to be real careful with Keith Thurman, man. You got to watch it. He gets beat. You got to watch it. I'm telling you. The main problem is that the PBC is very careful with what they have, and there's just any fight involving one of their guys, I'm telling you, it won't get made. It won't. I said it 3 years ago. Well, then Joshua probably never going to fight. And I said it a year later. You know what? Crawford and Spence, they probably ain't never going to fight. And here we are.
And another thing as well, even if they're both with PBC, there's no guarantee. The only reason why 154 them guys are fighting is because that's all they have. They all got them, all the guys there. They all have to fight each other.
That is a very valid point too. Because look, Caleb Plant is fighting Caleb Truax. Why isn't he fighting David Benavidez? Like, what's stopping him?
That's such a dead fight, man. Like, how do they think they're gonna grow the sport by putting on these fights, man? Who wants to see Truax with Plant? I don't know.
That's not even. First of all, that's
that fight ridiculous, bro.
That's such a terrible fight for Truax because I saw Truax fight a shot fighter. I shot a fight where I saw him fight James DeGale. Both of them men were shot. I think it was 2018.
I remember that fight.
Both men were shot. Like let's not
but
give.
They both look like they were in crutches on the ring, bro.
Yeah, both men. Yeah. But I shot the fight. Both men were shot. So you got this man who's shot, and Caleb is sharp. Like, Caleb's sharp. I'm not going to call him the greatest thing to say. He's a very sharp, fortunate to spend some time with the lad. Very sharp fighter. So that's a murder waiting to happen, fam. Like, I don't even understand. This is the thing, how these men, they give, like, whatever. Some of these matchups is like, fam, that's just as bad as when they were going to put Plant in against, what's the man that Lara stopped years ago, the Cuban, El Perro.
Angulo.
Yeah. When they were going to put him, this is just as bad because Truax is shot. Truax was shot in 2018. I don't see how he makes any improvements in 2021.
Truax should have retired with the gal.
Well, look, let's put it this way. Haven't you noticed an influx of journeymen being signed by the PBC? They're trying to build up Josecito Lopez, bro. Like, they're trying to make you, and I got nothing against people trying to get money, but I would be lying if I said that I didn't notice that they're trying to build up a lot of guys that have been through the ringer, and there's an influx of journeymen over there. And I think it started with Brandon Rios, when they tried to act like it was a big deal that Danny Garcia knocked out Brandon.
Yeah, And I don't mind if it's a proper journeyman. Yeah, if it's like Kingpin Johnson or someone like that, I get it. But when you're bringing in these men that are really, really on a serious note, endangering their lives, going in there against a young, sharp fighter, I don't know, because these men are just going to get pummeled. Like, it's not like a guy who knows how to survive and it's going to give him a test. And you're not bringing him in to test a prospect. You're bringing the man in to test a champion that's sharp and in his prime. And it's not even a test. Like, you just bringing a man in to lay down. And I don't know, fam. I just personally, them things not right yet.
Yo,
You know, another thing I was thinking as well. I was thinking that instead of Wilder coming back to fight like Dylan White or someone like that, he's gonna come.
Now, you know
back
he's
and
not going to fight Dillian.
fighter.
He's not gonna
He's
fight.
gonna fight a PBC fighter, 100%.
Like Robert Hellenius, watch.
Hellenius, bro. Hellenius.
yo, hey, can I get in? Good morning. Good
Go
morning.
ahead. All right, Jay hasn't had the chance to say nothing. J Mac 504. What's your thoughts?
Y'all made it. Hey, what's up, D? I think D on here. I've recently been on his channel.
What up, Jay?
I
What's
think he's
good?
still on. Yeah, ain't not much. Y'all brought up some good points, man. And I think I know we are as YouTube fans, boxing fans, whatever. You know, with this box community, a lot of narratives get trampled over, and we skip factual things that we can kind of like the meat and grits to this debate. I don't remember the guy you brought up, boxing IQ. You said what's the guy at PBC? He
Bill
said,
Wenger. Bill Wenger.
yeah, him.
He's the Fox because he's not a PBC executive. He's really a Fox executive, but he's basically their liaison
Mhm.
to Fox. Like all the shit involving PBC with Fox, that's basically what he in charge of.
Okay, like when I'm debating, I admit I lose so much shit with these back and forwards because every day like dudes use certain things to spin their narratives or use certain points to add on to their narrative to to win their idea or what they feel is like what's happening with this and what's happening with that. But something like that always stood out to me. When that guy said that they didn't have plans on fighting a Crawford, that said that they weren't going to be making plans on fighting a Crawford. And after all these shows of Bob doing this, Bob's doing that, I get labeled as a Bob protector or defender just because I see that, hold on, business on the PBC side when it comes down to Crawford, it just seems like it's get real stagnant. Or they so quick to put out a reason or why or say it's Bob or say it's Crawford when I never seen them have the energy to do business when it came down to fighting Crawford. And those guys never had contractual agreements with PBC. They can actually fight on other networks. And remember they were saying they was their own promoters for a while. So when I was listening to all this, I'm like, well, damn. I hear about them trying to deny the WBO title. I hear about what the Bill. I keep forgetting. I don't know his name.
Bill Wenger.
Bill Wenger said, and I still hear it's Bob. I still hear it's Crawford, and I get real confused with him. Plus, I'm like, man, why these dudes can't stick to the facts of it? We actually need to be holding El Heyman and the PBC side because their side seem a little more like they got the excuse. And plus, the guy that already make the fight said that they don't have no plans on fighting Crawford. And then when we had the epic meetup with Bud and Spence in Oklahoma at the Maurice Hooker fight, Spence came out and re-said pretty much what the guy said for Fox. But for somehow it's always Bob and Crawford. And it gets confusing to me, like what we doing here. And then I guess you got to run across his man down stands. I call a lot of them dudes man down stands because no matter what, they go get on Spence side of this argument, and it's clear as day, and it's been clear as day. And we match up Spence energy. Somebody background.
Yeah,
My
somebody
background.
something in the background. Like y'all gotta mute your mic if y'all shoveling snow in the background. Go ahead, Jay.
And it's been with me and being around. I stay in Dallas. I'm originally from New Orleans. I done been in that Dallas gym. I started off with the gym Spence used to go to, and I've been around Derek and I've been around Spence. And personally, just my personal opinion, I feel like their energy always been different. when it came down to Crawford. I didn't heard them talk about Keith Thurman on how he was getting folded up in the amateurs, how they wanted it. I didn't heard all the epic stories about the sparring and shit. Derek then told me and my brother how the shit went down, all that. But when it came down to Crawford, me as a fan and just being around, I noticed that energy always been different, and it ain't never been no energy for Crawford. So one, I add that to it being Spence. I add the business to everything I heard. I add the bill for the Fox. I add what Spence been saying, and none of it ever lined up. I mean, he went from strap season to Snow Smoke Jr. And then when it came down to Crawford, it became business season. And
Yeah.
then somebody else said on here, and I think it was you, Ring IQ, you said you put it on Spence because even amongst all of that, with the guys saying they don't have plans for Crawford, Spence could be beating down them dudes' doors saying, man, look, all these fights sound good and shit, this, and this, but I want that Crawford fight. They even had one time when they posted the video of them dudes. I mean, posted a picture of these dudes, and he made a comment like, "Man, I didn't beat these dudes already." That's when he could have said, "Man, I want Crawford, man. I want Crawford." Like, and my last point with the numbers, maybe they are trying to do something with Canelo and connect Spence with Canelo because I keep hearing these inflated ass numbers. I don't have no resource to prove it. I believe it because I know when you're trying to sell something, you're gonna only sell it good. My argument, I think I can prove it is why is it if them numbers was same similar to the other numbers, why did it take them so long to come up with those numbers this time? Because numbers don't take long to come out. I see that when it takes longer, it's normal. You got to have an excuse or you got to have reasons to come up with numbers, or you're waiting on something to prove numbers.
Thank you.
And
That's what that's what I was about to say.
it took a while for them numbers to come out. So I can believe that they're inflated. The only way is I can't really argue the shit because I don't have no way of proving it because I don't have those inside connects.
I'll say this about the numbers, right? One or two people have spoken to me about two pay-per-views that came out. One or two people. They're not here. I won't mention them. But to make a long story short, they basically told me that those numbers ended up doing half of what's being reported. The only reason I don't run with it is because, I mean, let's just, for argument's sake, let's say it did 225,000, right? That still ain't shit. I'm sorry. This is like 35. Like Showtime alone reaches 35 million subscribers. Showtime alone. ESPN more than that. Fox more than ESPN. So if all you can do in a country this size is 200 and something thousand, nah, you ain't doing shit. I'm sorry, you not. I'm sorry. No. So
Julius, just to
All right,
put
let
that
me-
in perspective.
go ahead, just let Jay finish.
Oh
Let
yeah,
Jay finish.
sorry, my bad.
And look, I'm almost finished, y'all. I think they connected him to the Canelo because even if he did get the Canelo fight, which wouldn't make no sense, because Canelo say he's sticking, he go undisputed at 168. But anyway, Canelo do what he want to do anyway. So Spence got shit he need to be worrying about at 147, the division and the only division he has ever fought at and needs to clear out. That should be his focus. I think they're trying to link him with Canelo to sell his stardom. And even if he did get a Canelo fight, win or lose, the numbers that they would do, because it'll still be a big fight. It'll still help his A side. Shit, I don't even know if he'll go back to 147, but I'm assuming it'll help his A side in 147 for negotiations. So I think that's why they're really trying to use this Canelo thing to kind of like boost his name and give him more A side just to sell his brand. And that's all I had on that.
No, I mean, I agree because I see that they do that with a lot of fighters. Like, I'm going to give you an example. Casimiro and Guillermo Vergandia, right? They started saying Naoya Inoue name a lot because Naoya Inoue, and people don't want to believe this, but it's the truth, bro. That dude does ridiculous numbers in his country, the kind of numbers that you don't even think is possible, bro. If you look up the viewing figures for the Nonito Donaire fight, it's insane how many people in that part of the world watch that fight. That dude is not just a monster in the ring, he's a monster when it comes to TV ratings. Guillermo and Casimiro, they start calling this guy out, right? And Casimiro actually was supposed to fight him before COVID hit. But why? They were relying on the Japanese investors to pay out the purses because they know the Japanese investors, when there was audiences going to boxing matches, there's more than enough money in the pot to pay a guy like Casimiro. But once the audiences went away and the investors went away, they started saying his name, right? Like, yeah, we're going to call him out. We're going to call him out, knowing that y'all not going to fight him. Y'all not gonna fight him. Rigo said he was monster hunting. Casemiro said he was monster hunting. But who about to fight? Rigo and Casemiro. And what are they? 2 PBC fighters. They attach themselves to somebody that's more popular than them to try to get articles written about them, to try to get attention, knowing you ain't even trying to fight this dude. Rigo has the WBA baby belt of Inouye's real belt. Why you not lining? Why you not pushing Gilberto Mendoza to make that fight? If you want him so bad, I thought you was monster hunting. So go hunt you a monster. Nah, you gonna fight Casemiro. I knew you was gonna fight. I said this shit 6 months. Yo, he gonna fight Casemiro. Watch. As soon as I heard Casemiro sign to the PBC, he gonna fight Casemiro, bro. They gonna call out Inouye, but fight each other. Spence, you gonna call out fucking Canelo, but you're not gonna fight him, and you know that. You know that. Like, you're not gonna fight him, bro. Canelo has better things to do than you. Canelo do what he want. He cash money Canelo. Like it or love it. He do what he want. The WBC let him. Everybody let him. He cash money Canelo. So he not gonna fight you, dog, unless you down to go to 168 right now. And even then he might not. Cause like, all right, well, I'm trying to get belt. You got a belt, bro? Nah, all right, get a belt. You get a belt, I got you. You don't got a belt, get out of here. All right, we want Caleb Plant or Billy Joe Saunders or whoever. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of little stupid stuff that goes on, but the crux of the discussion, the crux of this conversation, this is not a narrative. When I tell you, because that word is getting thrown around more and more in this sport, and it is not a narrative when I'm quoting to you verbatim what a Fox executive said. That's not a narrative. That is what he said. I'm not narrating anything. I'm quoting him. He said, we got a lot of other fights we can make for Spence without Crawford. We don't recognize the WBO title. We only, when we put up a graphic, and this is his words, when we put up a graphic, we show the belts that we think are relevant. And Chris Mannix was like, you think the WBA regular is relevant? He's like, well, second there. It's like, yo, dog, like everything he was saying was telling you, we don't care about the Crawford fight. So I'm not going to sit here worrying about Bob. I know Bob will make the fight because I've seen Bob over the years. If it's money to make, Bob is going to make it. Period. If it's money to be made, he gonna make it. But these guys, they not reciprocating that. Bob knows that's the biggest fight at 147, short of Manny Pacquiao, because Manny is damn near about to retire. Both of y'all want Manny. I'll be surprised if either of you get him, because Conor will fuck around and get him. Conor McGregor, he might fuck around and get him. It's not it's not a narrative when I say Manny Pacquiao signed to Paradigm Management. That's the same management company as Conor McGregor. You think he did that for no reason? You know what I'm saying? Mikey Garcia already said, yeah, we was going to fight before COVID hit. So that's saying that before COVID hit, he wasn't going to fight Errol, which I knew. He wasn't going to fight Errol, and he wasn't going to fight Crawford. He was going to fight Mikey till the COVID hit. So all this, I'm a chase Manny, or I'm going to chase Canelo. The people on the PBC is deflecting, like, y'all just keep looking for alternatives. If y'all wanted Crawford, y'all be fighting Crawford. It's simple. It's simple. Bob can't force Errol to have the fight. He can't force him. I know Bob want to make the fight, but the other side don't want to make it. It's very simple.
Yeah. You know, the truth is, you know, Manny Pacquiao, he don't have to fight either one of them dudes.
You're right.
At all.
You're right. Manny legacy is done, bro. Like it's sealed. It's done. Like Manny's gonna go down in history as one of the greatest fighters in the sport, even if he lost to Crawford.
Yeah, and just to make a point that you brought up, yeah, Manny did say. Garcia did say that the fight was signed and sealed for the Middle East. Like that was a done deal before COVID. So you know what that tells me, yeah. Manny's after the check, so whatever Manny does next is gonna come with a big check, yeah. And you know what a big check not? You know which man them now got them big checks, yeah. It's not on the PBC side.
You know, 200 territories around the world. Who you think got the check? They just expanded to 200 plus territories around the world. Who do you think got the check? It's not complex. None of it is complex. So when it comes to Crawford and Errol, just fight each other. That's it. But what have I been saying? And a lot of people not going to like this because, you know, it sounds like what it sounds like. They don't believe in Errol. Simple. They don't believe. You don't. For all the arguing, all the pissing, I'll bet $200, $300, $400 right now with anybody. Crawford beats that man. Who got it?
Yo, what's good? What's good?
None of the PBC fighters are built for superstardom. None of them are.
I think the inflated numbers have taken its course. I think it's run its course, and that's why. Look, they've been inflating numbers. Let's say for Errol Spence since day one, the 6 million after the Olympics. But some above fight big college games, NCAA college games. Like just for example, the Edgar Berlanga 2.2 million. Yeah, that was because of the Florida game. So when what is it, Nielsen? What's the rating company name? Whatever.
Nielsen
Nielsen.
Media and TV
Yeah.
Research.
So if there's a fight that goes over the schedule, but it's still, you could see like in the cable box, you could still see that it still says Florida, right? No, you see it's boxing, but it's still the Florida game. Those numbers are going to boxing, but it's really still the Florida game, just like it was going for the Olympics, but it was going to the Errol Spence versus Bundle
Algeria.
fight.
Bundle,
So
yeah.
so they could keep faking the fans and inflating numbers, but what you can't fake is the investors, the ads. They know the numbers. And to be honest, I've been saying this fight is never gonna happen. It does not make business sense if you're looking at business at this time with no live, with no 100% live gate open, with their numbers with 250 pay-per-view buys, which I believe it was still low in my opinion. Bud Crawford, his numbers not that good. It doesn't make business sense to do a crossover promotion with those type of numbers.
Nah,
And Heyman is hold on.
I'm
And Heyman is not that type of guy that's gonna put up the money. He's the guy that's gonna get you the deal so you won't get fucked over with the money.
Exactly.
Mikey Garcia, go to the zone. Jacobs, go to the zone. Khan, go to the zone. Derevchenko, go to the zone. Wilder, go to
Fox.
ESPN. No, go to ESPN and fight Tyson Fury.
But I say Fox
So-
because remember, Wilder fought exclusively on Showtime for a long time, right? But in order for him to get his next bag, where did they send him? They moved him from Showtime over to Fox. The Wilder versus Fury 2. That was Fox and ESPN.
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
Showtime and ESPN.
But Heyman ain't gonna put that money by himself.
No, of
Heyman is
course
always
not.
looking. So Heyman. So let's say for a guy like Earl Spence that says he's A side, Heyman ain't saying that you're A side. I don't think Heyman believes that you're A side yourself. He's not putting up that A side money. He's just looking for somebody to put that. And Bob is saying, you know what? Now you ain't gonna get me on this one like everybody
That's
else.
what it is, bro. Fucking punch, dog. This fucking. See, he gets it. He gets it. That's exactly what it like. But I know you don't think you're gonna get me.
What he just said makes sense to me, because like I said, I would like to believe fighters are fighters, but Beats broke it down like we've said before. Al has it in his contract. Al has right of first refusal on and not just on fights. He has right of first refusal on you going to the mall to sign autographs. All right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it don't really matter how much Errol does or doesn't want the fight. If Al says no, guess what? No fight. Period.
So yo, let me get in.
Go ahead,
Can I get in? Oh yeah, Punch. They got Punch on here too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I started recently listening to his show. I like his show and some of the stuff he be bringing up.
He's a nice guy, man. He just
Okay.
like too much, but he's a nice guy. I like that guy. He's a nice guy.
Right.
He's a terrible guy. Terrible.
Nah. So when y'all think, okay, so when I'm listening to everybody, I'm pro fights. I'm pro fighters. I understand when we talking guarantees, a lot of dudes like to bring up these impossible ass back end checks. Like I be messing with everybody when I'm debating. Like Errol Heyman, y'all act like Errol Heyman be getting 20, 50 million on the back end. Like these back end checks are just like human. Like I hear arguments, and when I'm arguing guarantees, the guarantees are not matching up. But I'm still not trying to count nobody money because, like I said, I don't have the understanding to like argue back end checks and monies, but I know it not making sense to like some of these dudes reporting. So I think we should do more instead of dudes picking sides, because that's what a lot of dudes do on YouTube and stuff. That you know how when the dudes talking shit that sound good, you be like that shit sound good, but what you trying to do? Trying to still make that fight happen? Because that's what Errol been doing. He been doing a lot of posturing. Errol been doing a lot of EJ been doing a lot of posturing. His fans been doing a lot of posturing for him. He's saying stuff, but if you look at one dude and how he been moving towards the fight, and we've been saying it's been Bob, or they've been saying it's been Bob. Errol been moving away from the fight, but Errol get praise and continue respect on what he's saying and support on his A side shit. Like these numbers he's talking ain't A side, like it's ridiculous, almost tad bit delusional.
Remember, bro. The way you know where things is at, just consider what the guaranteed purses are. And I reiterate, don't worry about the upside because that's going to be based on whatever it's based on. The guaranteed purses are very relevant to the conversation because that shows you how much they're willing to risk. You understand? So the most they was willing to risk for a unification fight between Sean and Errol was $4 million. $4 million.
Right.
Jose Ramirez got $4 million going to the zone for fighting Maurice Hooker. So that tell me they're like, yo, y'all don't trust these guys. No matter what's being said, no matter what the fans and the YouTubers are saying, this money, because the money talk, and what does the bullshit do? It works. This money tells me y'all don't really believe in this guy because you're not putting up A-side money for this guy. You're not.
And look, this is what I was going to end on. This is what I was going to end on. I was going to say this. Instead of supporting Errol, because he got a lot of, we need to bombard him with, yeah, that shit sound good, but you trying to make the fight? Because, like, no matter what they say, it's just he needs to make the fight happen. Like, he needs to be held accountable to it because, like, Bud then moved up from 3 weight classes, whether or not. And I hear this getting spent around, too. When he say he don't need Spence, they don't listen to what he's saying. He's saying he has accomplished great things in the sport already to where he'd be just fine. Spence is the guy at 147. Arguably could have been fighting at 154, moved down from 154 to fight at 147 and been at one weight class where he needs the Bud to move up because he got to go through Bud to go for undisputed, whether he wants to do it or not. Spence need to be held to it, and it's gonna take a wave of YouTube network fans to call him out on it because that's the only way you can pin him down. And if some way he swivel around that, that's all good. But Spence need to be held to the fire because this dude been talking about going for undisputed, but he got to go through Bud to get it. So all this talking about 70-30 and percentages, man, he told Bud himself when it was going back and forth in the Twitter rant, hey man, look, call me. This not how fights get made. So keep that same energy when you out here putting percentages in the air and making the shit sound good and all that and make that fight happen. And everybody need to be telling Spence pretty much that shit sound good, but are you trying to make that fight happen?
Like nobody. It's the same thing that's going on with Jermall and Demetrius, right? And I always come back to this when it comes to those two fighters because they both get a lot of criticism, right? But my thing is this, and this is to a lesser extent than Crawford and Spence because that fight isn't even as talked about. But it's like before you go telling me that Canelo needs to fight Jamal or that Canelo needs to fight Andre, they need to fight each other. It's overdue. They offered you $7 million to fight this man. $7 million. I don't care if he's not known. I don't care if his resume is thin. It's $7 million. And you didn't take the fight. He doesn't get held responsible for that. I know that Demetrius walked away from a Jermell Charlo fight a couple of years ago. I know that he did, but that fight really was only worth a couple $100,000. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying that, look, these are prize fighters, right? They offered you a significant prize to fight Demetrius Andre. And 2 years ago, not even a year, 2 years ago, you said, I'll move up before I fight him. Have you moved up yet? Or are you about to fight Chris Eubank Jr.? For no belt at all, except yours. This is what I'm talking about. They get a pass for this. That's why I'm like, I'm boycotting all PBC pay-per-views, unless it's one that I actually like. Because I'm like, this is ridiculous, bro. You're not getting my money for Danny Garcia. I've never thought Danny Garcia belongs on pay-per-view. No, dog. I remember the Thurman fight. No, that can't be on
Jay, let me ask you something. So you telling me right now, right? I want to make sure I'm clear on this. That the financial responsibility in this fight happening right now is all on the PBC side.
No. The financial responsibility is supposed to be split down the middle, the way that it was with Wilder versus Fury.
Okay.
If you're gonna do a joint pay-per-view, right? All right, look, we'll make sure that Crawford gets his money. You make sure that your guy gets his money, and that's not our problem. That is not our problem. No, that's between you and your guy. All right, whatever he's willing to fight for. So if he's willing to fight for less than Crawford, so be it. If he wants more, you got to fix that. You got to negotiate that. But before it even comes to that, you guys have to be willing to make the fight. And what have we been seeing from Bill Wenger? No, we got a lot of other stuff we could do for Errol besides Crawford. We got a lot of other stuff. We got Ugas, we got Thurman, yeah. The fuck around having fighting COVID before they have him fighting Crawford.
Hey,
one
can
thing I'll
I say
say.
something on Andrade and because I just got called delusional by Ronnie Shields on the boxing voice the other day for the question I proposed on him. I noticed that they used to struggle with Lowry in the gym years back when Lowry used to be dominant, when Lowry was one of the dominant guys at 154. And I asked them, is it the fact that you seen how Jamel and Jamal struggled with Lowry, and that's why you want to keep them away from Andrade? Because Ronnie Shields out here posturing for them as well, giving them excuses, talking about they mad Demetrius won, which is bullshit. Signed a contract and refused to fight him. You don't sign contracts up until fight night, for starters. Now you may agree to a term. You may agree to a term, terms of a fight or what have you, and stuff like that. But the contract ain't bond until the fight night and when it happens. So the trainers out here posturing for Jamal and Jamel, giving them excuses, saying Andrade backed up out of a fight. But Andrade backed up out of a fight because you got to put the truth out there. Rock Nation told him told him not to take the fight because they promised him more money. Plus, he was the guy, the champion that was getting paid less than Jamel, which he had a whole problem with. On top of Andrade already being signed with a suck ass promoter or something, he was having money problems. So he took the fight under the stress or whatever you want to call it. And then when Rock Nation, who was paying the guys a lot of money at that time, say, hey man, look, we gonna pay you this, we gonna pay you that on some back end shit. Not back in like pay-per-view, like some back end like under the table stuff, saying, hey, don't take that fight. We got you in this. And whatever didn't go through, or the business didn't fall through for him, and so he got left in the cold. So he backed up out of the Jamel fight at 154, not Jamel fight, and also Rock Nation could not keep their promise, so he was made to appear coming out of that situation like a duck. And I tell dudes all the time, hold on. I tell dudes all the time that don't act like if you was put in that situation, you would not have went for the money too, because at the end of the day, you gotta give him what the entirety of the whole situation, how it was going on. So now
can I say something real quick? Because my man just confirmed something I said, but you know what I mean, because of work, I couldn't get into the details. But he just brought up the thing that I said, because obviously he probably was in one of them sections that I was at, that Lara was giving them boys the work multiple times, all the time. And I remember I said this, and you thought man was just on a Lara this thing. I was like, yo, Lara was beating these man.
Don't start that shit. I've been here. Hold on. I've been
No, Julius, calm down, fam. Wait, because when I take the piss, you jump on it. Well, hang on, I'm just making a point, because me and Doc brought it up, and you know what I do. So I was there, so it was just nice that someone else was there and sees it. So I said for a reason, I said they're never going to take that fight, because if Lara, who's a smaller man, was doing that thing there to the boys, his trainer's not going to let him get in there. That's all. I'm just happy that he confirmed it. That's all. I'll shut up now.
All I'm saying,
Lara did a box up man in the ring and thing, and the man want to take the fight.
I've been hearing.
That's what the man them a chat, right? Fire for that, man. Fire.
About Lara smacking up those kids for like 3 years. I shit you not. I've been hearing about how Lara used to smack up those kids in sparring for about 3 years, and it's the same thing that Jay said, that Lennox said. I think that because Demetrius is a statuesque southpaw, they don't like southpaws. That's what I'm getting from it. Like, y'all just don't want to deal with no southpaws. That's what it is. And in Demetrius, you have an eye-level southpaw. He ain't no little guy. It's an eye-level southpaw who can make it a negative fight, and y'all don't want to have to deal with that. So instead of that, let's get Matt Korobov. Let's get Brandon Adams. Let's get an inactive Sergey Didivianchenko. I like Jamel. Personally,
now,
I like
Julius.
Chat Julius, man. You know you can do the accent, Julius. Chat Julius.
Wait a minute. Yeah. I like everything about Jermell Charlo's career. That is a fighter that I can honestly not.
I need to get him out.
Jamal is something else.
We'll get it next month when the money comes, because.
Right. But he ain't gonna. But Jamel. Do you think Jamel's gonna fight Andre?
No.
Yeah, right. Because look how much Jermell struggled with the freaking Tony Harrison, who, to your point, is an orthodox, stylistically similar guy. Andre, in my opinion, is a skill level above and is a southpaw. So I think you might be onto something there.
That fight
stylistically. Yeah.
That fight will never happen. It will.
And all of this shit we're talking about, Julius, is why I keep saying this generation of, in particular, I'm going to be hurt some feelings here. American boxers, this generation of American boxers, historically down the road, are going to get shit on.
Well, no.
The resumes, their legacies. I'm generalizing. They're going to get shit on.
Wait a minute. Now, this is what I'm going to say. It's not going to be this generation of American fighters because my guy Terrence Crawford is an American fighter, last undisputed American champion. Clarissa Shields, also American fighter, last undisputed American champion.
My girl.
These are exceptions.
Jessica, wait. Jessica McCaskill, undisputed after Clarissa, also American. Edgar Berlanga, yeah, he's Puerto Rican, but come on.
You're already trying to squeeze him in, Julius. You're already trying to squeeze him in.
American. He's American.
Let me do this. Teofimo Lopez. This is an American fighter, man. That's an American fighter.
He's American.
He's American. So
man's okay. And the truth is, he's got two good wins. Go ahead.
No, but it's not that. It's what he did. What he did, and I'm telling you,
Doc, he got 16 fights. Come on now.
Wait. What he did is going to be remembered as the shining example of what a fighter can do. The same with Jessica. What a fighter is capable of when they believe in themselves. Jessica, that's my prime example. She did not have to go up there to fight Cecilia Brake. She didn't have to do that. But because she believed she could win, she fucking did it. And she proved everybody wrong because most people thought she was going to lose that fight. Most people thought she was going to lose that fight. She didn't. Teofimo, you never had to chase Vasily from the beginning. You never had to chase this guy. You could have had a couple of fights at 35 and moved up to 40. No, you believed. Your father believed that you can beat him. And guess what? You beat him. Maybe some people, want to get stuck on the semantics. Fuck them. Right. At the end of the fight, who had the belt?
All right, you're right. I should have said male. I should have said male boxers, and your one or two exceptions just prove the point.
Go ahead, man.
In my opinion. Your one or two exceptions. I should have said men's boxers. This generation of men's boxers, because the women have been getting down. All right?
Yeah,
right.
We've had that conversation. And the couple of examples you've given me, assuming one, that they're going to continue on that form, fine, whatever. That a couple of exceptions proves the point, in my opinion. Most of these let's talk about the welterweights. You think these welterweights? We've had this before. If anybody dares 30 years from now to try and talk to a historian in the future about, I think Sean Porter might be as good as Tommy Hearns.
No, that ain't gonna happen. But let me jump in and make a quick comment, please. Right. But let me make this comment, please. Hey, Julius, something you said, I gotta disagree and agree on at the same time. When he said Teofimo, what he did was great. It was great for this era, man, because I come from an era where, Holyfield won his first title in his 12th fight, right? You got a guy by the name, he's Puerto Rican, he's American, by the name of, Wilfred, right? He won his title at 17 years old, man.
From a legit fucking Cervantes, a real fucking champion, long reigning champion.
Right. So what he did was very good for this era, but it's nothing that I haven't seen before. And yes, I'm thankful that he did it because boxing needed it, because we came out of an era where it was just pay-per-view and nothing else, and now we stuck in the era of A side, B side, and we don't get the fights that we want out of certain fighters, and it's disappointing, man. It's very disappointing.
I'm gonna say this much: it's like for those of us, and I think everybody on this panel is familiar with Henry Armstrong, right? Everybody's familiar with him.
Yes.
That's one of the most amazing careers in the sport of boxing, right? He's an amazing fighter, but history forgets. Sometimes history forgets fighters like that because of contemporaries. So, I mean, if I hold up any of these guys, I can't hold up any of these guys to Henry Armstrong. Like, I can't. Like, it's like, bro, it's Henry Armstrong, right? Let me put my hand in the camera. It's Henry Armstrong, and then it's y'all. You know what I mean? So I get your point, Troy. I'm just saying that for the younger boxing fans that don't know a Henry Armstrong, they're going to look at Teofimo, and they're going to be like, yo, you know what? That's how you behave when you believe in yourself, though. That's how you do it. They might not remember Wilfredo Benitez or guys like Henry. They might not remember them, but for the postmodern fight fan that don't know nothing about them guys, they'll know Teofimo, and they'll remember Teofimo has been calling out Vasily Lomachenko for 2-3 years. 2-3 years he's been calling this guy out. Just about. Started about 2-3 years ago. He believed in himself. No fuckery with no audience. Purse cuts, because there were purse cuts. They didn't end up making the money that they would have made if there was a live gate. And regardless of all the obstacles and all the difficulties and all the peeing and shitting, he had the fight. He won the fight. That's
right. And Julius, let me piggyback off of that too, because I think it is great, regardless of the fact of the nostalgia of old school. Because you can throw out names like Wilfred Benitez and these guys, but it's still accomplishing what he accomplished in just 16 fights. It's great in any fucking era, bro. Because we got a lot of guys from the era that we love, Troy, we're the same age, that didn't do shit in their first 16 or 17 fights. And that's just a fact. That's just a fact.
As an example, anybody that knows me knows I'm a George Foreman fanboy. But George wasn't fighting for titles at how many fights did Teofimo have when he fought Richard? Like what, 15?
15 fights. What he did was still great.
Okay. Now, you're right. You're right. George was at about 30-something. Hang on. George was at about 30-something fights when he fought George. Now, let me hang on though, Julius. Here's the counter to that. George Foreman, go back and look at the box record. I'm being just about literal here. Was fighting about every month, once a month.
That's true.
All right. So you're not wrong. He had about 30 fights before he fought Joe, but he was fighting every fucking almost.
I'm just saying that. Look. Wait. If we're gonna do this, all right. George was a gold medalist. He was an Olympian. Wait. Don't interrupt me. Just yes or no. Was George Foreman a gold medalist?
Yes.
Was Teofimo Lopez a gold medalist?
No.
Was George Foreman fighting the kind of quality of competition that Teofimo was fighting in his first 16 fights?
No, he didn't have a Lomachenko in his first 16 fights. Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. That's it. It's not, and I love George. I'm always gonna love George forever. But the facts are what the facts are. What Teofimo did, it's special, bro. And he only did it once again. He only did it because him and his father believed he could do it. So that's how you want to see a fighter behave. That these are your best years. This is when you're at your strongest, when you're most enthusiastic. You got guys like Davis. They moved away from that fight for 3 years. You're actually older than Teofimo. Felix Verdejo, whenever I don't bring him up a lot because I didn't have a lot of great things to say, but whenever I brought him up, you'll notice what the tone was like. Yo, dog, like you're 27 years old, bro. You're older than Ryan. You're older than Teofimo. You're older, and you know what are you doing? You know what I mean? So once again, Teofimo is going to be the shining example of this generation of what you can do when you believe in yourself.
Okay.
In reference to that, when we were talking about Bob Arum, he wasn't even going to put up that Tio and Lomachenko fight because it wasn't enough money. ESPN had to come to the table. So imagine if Bob Arum himself, with his own fighters, was struggling to put up. Well, I think we agree that we all would have paid a pay-per-view for Lomachenko and Teofimo.
Yeah, I would have.
Right? Me too.
I would have.
So Bob Arum would be like, you know what, man, I ain't putting up this fight. And ESPN had to come and step up and give Tio under the table whatever they had to give him. So imagine Spence and Bud. That's how I'm saying that fight is not gonna happen. If you couldn't even put up a good fight, you wasn't willing to put extra money for your in-house fighter that could have been pay-per-view easily. That fight ain't gonna happen. Errol Spence.
I'm telling you, this is what
that's why I slide the ball.
Let me say this. Because I firmly believe this. The difference between Crawford and Spence and Loma and Teofimo is Lomachenko, for all his shit, and we've talked about this, there's a language barrier. All right, now if you get the promotional engine behind Crawford versus Spence, dog, I could sell this fight. Dog. I could by myself. All right, it's different with this fight. The problem is Bob Arum should not have to take on the brunt of the risks when you have a deal with Fox, dog. What are you down to pay for advertising? What are you down to put up? Yeah, I got to deal with ESPN, but you got to deal with Fox. So, I mean, what's rocking? Now, Fox, the network, forget Al Heyman, forget Errol Spence, Bill fucking Wenger puts no priority on that fight. So that tells you everything you need to know. Forget about Al. We don't get quotes from Al. You know, we did get a quote from Fox executive Bill Wenger, and he puts no emphasis on that fight.
Yeah, I keep telling everybody Al Hammond's a fucking figurehead, fam. You're not like people did this. That dude. He's just a figurehead, fam. I'm
Yeah,
telling you.
he don't work for us, man. He work for his clients. That's it, man. It's not
Right.
about boxing with him.
Bob
Man.
don't care. I
He's
mean,
a music. He's a
don't
music
care about me.
executive.
Bob cares about me, and I care about Bob. I don't care about Al because Al don't care about me, but Bob cares about me. You know why Bob cares about me? Because Bob wants my money, and depending on what fight he's willing to put on, I'm willing to give it to him. That's why we see Bob. Al don't care about the fans because, like you just said, Al don't work for the fans. He work for the fighter. That's it. Work for the fighter. You don't care about boxing.
Nope, he don't, bro. I said that shit so many times.
And Bob is the problem only when he got the in-housing. If the other fighters are on the other side, and he got the fighters like let's say Bob had the PBC situation where he had the fighters to do in-housing. He'll be making the best fights, but the guys on the outside will have a hard time getting in. So it happens in the sport of boxing, and the PBC is just their time right now where they got all the top guys in around a highly anticipated fight. So when people be saying Bob did this, Bob did that, you got to give him the same credit that you're giving the PBC on the in-housing because that's what they do. Like Deontay Wilder, the only reason why I believe the fight happened with Fury or second fight, because one, he wanted it. Two, he pushed for it. Three, they believed in him. Four, Wilder said, I wanted to make this fight happen. And it goes back to what Spence said. Like a lot of her dudes bring up numbers and what have you. I disagree with whether the fight is not ready to be made. The fight actually can be made. It's just a lot of narratives being put out there and being supported to why the fight can be made. The fight is one of the biggest fights in boxing. Anytime you put a poll up, the Spence and Bud fight wins because a lot of people want to see this fight. Whether we keep saying the fight ain't this, or is Bob did this, or is this, or is this. If everybody just push both of them to their corner, stop giving Spencer out, stop letting Spence run around here on his horses and his ranch and shit, and talk about he's A side and stuff, and put him like see a fighter in a fighter thing, and this is what we get away from because a lot of fighters are turning into businessmen. A fighter's supposed to be held to being competitively challenged, being paid, and always feel like he got to prove himself. I'm a fighter and I got a fighter mentality. I ain't gonna be letting Julius run around here in my weight class talking that shit for too much longer. Showing up to my fights. Hold on, I'm almost finished. Showing up to my fights. Showing up to my fights. Looking at me every time we in the same room. It better be proper and it better be cordial. Or we go get in the ring and figure it out. Then we get the respect afterwards because that's how fighters are. That's a fighter's mentality.
Jay, that's the shit I'm saying. And I'm like, hold on, wait. Jay, that's the shit I'm saying. And I'm like, look. The way I know that this shit is that the Errol is just not, and I feel Terrence has lost interest because of what it has become, because of the conversation. But he still sound like a fighter though. Why? Because he came to your fight, bro. He came to your fight. He like, man, I gotta watch this motherfucker. I gotta see what he got left. And what Errol said, you want to see me come to none of his fights? Like, what kind of shit is that? This ain't tic-tac-toe. This ain't tit for tat. He came to your fight because he was scouting you. That's why he came to your fight. And you saying that you wouldn't scout him. Why? Because you have no intention of fighting him. You go to somebody else fight, though. You went to Canelo fight, though, right? Because you scouting him. You won't scout Crawford. You and I both know. And I know somebody that knows Errol Spence is listening. You know that Crawford beats him. I know that Crawford beats him. That's why he ain't going to bother to scout him. Fuck out of here.
Just like when Wilder said bet on myself. That's not better. That was another terminology of saying I bet on the Floyd and the Manny Pacquiao business strategy that Al Heyman has in plan for all of us. That's what they bet on.
Yeah, AJ, when you get that belt down, I'm gonna hold you to that, right? Make sure you don't change that energy, dog.
I'm not going. My energy will change, dog. Kosei Tanaka, because I know Mark is around here. Kosei Tanaka is gonna win that fight.
Julius, I was actually talking about J Mac that time. My bad, because I always call you J. J Mac. When you get that Julius, belt, when you get that belt, J Mac, don't change that energy, fam.
Listen, it's not. Listen, let me tell you why it ain't gonna change. It ain't gonna change because we gotta remember we getting away from the boxing principles. Boxing is a sport, boxing is a business, but it's still a competitive edge each fighter's supposed to have. I gave that example is like we gotta hold these fighters to this. When you start doing too much talking, and then in the media, in the YouTube, in the media, everybody got a platform, everybody got to say so on it. We're not fighters, meaning like I mean, like the bulk of us are not fighters, but we get to say more than the fighters get to actually say. So when we start running their narratives, we help them out and we give them ways and give them ways out of fights. As long as they feel like they got support, okay, I can run with this, I can spin this, I got the people behind me. You corner a fighter into calling him out on his bullshit, no matter what. Let's just say Bud and Spence, no matter what they say, man, that shit sound good. If all of us ended our podcasts, our YouTube videos, that shit sound good. But you trying to fight that dude? If they keep hearing that, they're gonna be like, man, what the hell? The dudes ain't support me on this shit, man. Fuck that. I gotta get this fight. And as a fighter, it's nothing more than challenging a fighter. If you ever been in the gym, if dude's hitting the bag, if a nigga watching you, sizing you up, they ask you a simple question. Hey man, how much you walking around at? Like I'm thinking like, what the fuck you mean when I'm walking? I'm walking around at your weight. Because there's a reason why you asked me. It's not hard to challenge a fighter. We talking about boxing, a fighter. We're not talking about football, basketball. We talking about the sport, what the sport was bred off and made off of. A fighter's mentality should always find ways to keep itself challenged. And
I
Errol
like this guy.
hold
I
on,
really like this guy.
hold on. Somebody background loud. And my last thing, if we put Errol in a situation to where he can talk about and he can't relieve himself off talk about his ranches and his horses, and we can hold him to fighting Bud Crawford, which he's in that weight class, which we're entitled to, which he said he's going for undisputed. He needs to be held accountable to that. Stop giving this dude a sideways out. Stop giving him this because he needs to prove himself before he can even talk about this. After you beat a Bud or the guy that you say ain't selling or ain't on your level or you more A side, then that's gonna be your biggest win. Then you could talk about fighting maybe the Canelos of the world and what have you. Because the truth of the matter is you have to go through a Bud in order to get that clout. You have to. It's just that simple.
Now, I'm gonna say this to J Mac's point, right? I had Alicia Baumgartner. She's a prime example of what he's talking about. I had her on here, and I said, like, yo, I know that if I ask you this question, you're gonna say you beat them all. Because what I was gonna ask her was like, yo, who would you prefer to fight? And her immediate response, because I've asked her that before. She said anybody, any of them. I don't care, because that's a fighter's mentality. Now, if you ask Spence that, well, I want Manny, and then maybe I want this person. It's like, why is it so selective? Because you don't have that mentality. You like, and it's consistent with the fighters that are on that side of the street. That now it has to be just so. It has to, like, it got to be this guy. It got to be like, no, why you can't just say, yeah, I want Crawford. That's who y'all want.
Right,
I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think you're wrong, but I think it's also true that the standards of the American boxing fan in general has slipped. Now, let's get Beats in here. Beats been waiting a long time.
Yeah, Beats, go ahead,
Look,
Beats.
man. Here's the thing, right? A side speaks for itself. Oscar, did you ever hear Oscar come out and say I'm the A side? No. He just done millions and millions. Say 30 million purses against Hopkins, 52 against Floyd. He just did it. If you are the A side, you shouldn't be afraid of the boardroom. The boardroom will prove ultimately if you're an A side fighter. All them sources where your pay-per-views are coming from, the real sources are coming out in the boardroom, right? You're real now. And if you're the A side, like you're saying, then you'll get a bigger purse than Crawford. But you got to go in the boardroom first. When you're hiding behind all this, oh, you need to get a belt. Oh, you're on the wrong side of the street. Oh, I'm going to fight Crawford, Porter. Come on, man. Look, he's getting too much outs. Like a lot of these cats saying that he's an A-side fighter. Listen, your 250,000 pay-per-view buys barely covers Bud's guarantee, right? When Floyd and Oscar were doing pay-per-view money, right? Like Marcus McDonough never fought for 4 or 5 years after he fought Floyd. He was on the farm doing what he was doing, shooting guns, drinking rum. That's A-side, bro. When you can take 2 fights and I don't see you in a ring again, you fought the A-side.
Yo, look at Charles Martin at the AJ, man. That
Right.
dude went crazy. He went crazy, man. We got that AJ money, like
Marcos bought half of Argentina after he fought Floyd. He bought up half Argentina after he fought Floyd.
Bro, Charles Martin turned
Andy,
from a
Andy
god.
Ruiz after the fight.
Charles Martin turned from a god into a Jedi.
I still got that shit saved to motherfucking phone too, dog. Every so often I look at that joint and laugh, but I'm like, yo, look, he got paid very well. He was a champion. He was paid like a champion. They respected that. Hey, he's the one in the fight with a belt, so you got to put up something sizable, something significant, because he's a champion. But that's
hold on. I want to make a strong point. I want to make a really strong point. Right, we're talking A sides, B sides, all this money stuff. Right now, I'm gonna go out here and say I believe Charles Martin was paid $7 million for the AJ fight. $7 million US, £5 million, somewhere around there. Right.
Yeah.
Right? Errol Spence has been given guaranteed purses of his highest amount of 2.5 million, correct?
Yeah.
2 million for Porter and 1.5 for Danny. So that's 1.5 plus 2 plus 2.5 equals what? Equals what?
What?
6.
6 million. 6 million.
6 million combined off one fight, and that's an A side to a dude who a lot of people called the worst heavyweight champion in history.
I mean, for me, it's Bermain Stavern, but that's just me.
But I'm talking a lot of people. That's an arguing point.
Great point.
That's an arguing point. You can't be an A side if you're bringing up a dude who's brought in to lose a fucking belt, and he made more than you did in your 3 pay-per-views off one damn fight.
Great point. Great point.
Yeah. I mean, Beats, hey, real quick, to what Mark just said, Beats rattled off some of Oscar's purses. Oscar by himself was making 5 and 10 times what Crawford and Spence make combined. Think about that. And those are in 1990s dollars. Right. Beats, what was Leonard's guarantee? Hang on. Beats, hang on. Real quick. Beats, what was Leonard? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Fellas, why is Crawford such a low pay-per-view draw? What does he need to change to become a bigger draw? Only hardcore fans know who he is and willing to cough up the money. I can't figure out where it went wrong. It's all right. That's the easy answer. Crawford is, look, believe it or not, Crawford's situation is not as bad as it appears. It's just that the fights that the fans are willing to pay for involve PBC fighters. That's the problem. It's not that Top Rank didn't go wrong. He just put up 2 million plus views to fight Cal Brook. All right. 2 million views. 2 million American fight fans at home tuned in because they knew Crawford was fighting. So that narrative, right? That Crawford, that things went wrong. No, things didn't go wrong. 2 million people tuned in to watch him fight. So there's nothing wrong. It's just that the fight that we want now, it involves Errol Spence Jr. And unless it's Errol Spence, I'm not paying. All right? It has to be Spence. For Spence, it's the same thing. You won't get 1 red cent of my money until you fight Crawford. I don't care if you fight Manny. I might go to sleep during the Pacquiao fight just to say, fuck you, Spence. You need to fight Crawford. I ain't asked you to fight Manny. Manny don't got nothing to prove to me. Fuck, he ain't got nothing to prove to you neither. All right? You need to fight Crawford. And if you want my $80, yo, go as far as making it $100. If you make that fight $100, you got $100 from me.
See, where's the limit though? I saw two kids fight arguing over an area title in Britain, saying one was the A side. So what? Because you sold 200 more tickets than him, you where's the limit? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm trying to say that.
Oh shit!
There's gonna be a limit. Why want to be an A side fighter?
Yeah, Beats. You know the number because I've heard you say it a bunch of times. What was Leonard's purse for the first Turns fight? His guarantee?
It's 10 million.
$10 million in 1982 bucks, Julius. Think about that.
81.
That is
81.
like to beat
81.
Or 81. I'm sorry. And that's an A side. That's a superstar. That's $10 million in 1981 bucks.
Tommy got 5.
Tommy got 5. Tommy got more than either of these so-called A sides.
In the 80s, man.
Fuck out of here.
They should worry. They should stop worrying about A and B side. Worry about A+ fights.
No, it's not that. Look.
Hold on for a second. Wasn't boxing the number one sport?
I want to hear what D
What
said.
wasn't boxing the number one sport in this country back then?
And the fans held the fighters to a way tougher standard.
Right. It ain't the number one sport now. So that matters.
It's not that there aren't A sides and B sides. That, like, I don't dismiss the relevance of that because there have been A sides and B sides since Sugar Ray Robinson. It's not that conversation is important. It's just that you have fighters that aren't A side fighters. Like, you're not an A side, bro. You are not now where either Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, Sugar Ray Leonard. You're not where they were. You aren't what they were. You're not.
Look, them fights back then were events. I was watching Hatton versus Mayweather on Sky, like the build-up. You know how much people? Guess how much Hatton people brought over to America?
Thousands.
30,000, right? 30,000 came over. They didn't go get in the arena. 30,000. That's an event, bro. Right? The people in Vegas, they'll never forget seeing so many Brits turn up to see somebody. That's an event.
They were the stands beating on drums. I remember. Yeah.
You could argue that Ricky Hatton, with that example, okay, I'm not saying obviously Ricky wasn't the A side to Floyd, but you could argue that Ricky had reached the point in his career, and I hate to say it because we are talking about our homegrown American fighters, but it's the truth. Did 30,000 Americans go over to the UK when Errol fought Kell Brook in Sheffield?
No. I might be hey, hold on. I might be the only. I don't know if anyone else here can comment on that because I was at the fight. Was anyone else there?
No, I bought the pay-per-view.
I think I seen maybe 20 American people in total the entire time I was there.
Well, they were probably members of the crew. They were probably members of the crew.
Entourage, yeah. You say entourage.
No, I'm not talking outside of the entourage. Outside of the entourage, I'm being serious. Because when you go to these things, you talk to people, you hear accents. I didn't hear more than 20 American voices the entire time I was there. Straight.
Look, everybody knows. Wait. I'm a Terrence Crawford fanboy, right? But I know that 30,000 Americans did not go to Glasgow. I think it was the Hydro Arena for the Ricky Burns fight. That didn't happen. So unless you're there, let's just can the A side shit, please.
Let me ask y'all something. Doc. Hold on. Let me ask you a question. You, Doc, specifically, will you compare what Errol Spence would make in 3 years to, say, Gary Harris that plays for the Denver Nuggets? Would you compare what Errol Spence would make in 3 years compared to what Gary Harris would make in 3 years? Would you do that?
What are you talking NBA salaries?
Yeah, right. So my point is this: boxing was the number one sport, man. When we sit here and say, hold on, okay, let me talk, bro. When we sit here and say fucking what Sugar Ray and Ali and these guys made, bro, fuck that. Boxing ain't being viewed like that. It's just like comparing their money now to these NBA and NFL guys, because those are the number one sports. They easily get money.
I agree. But the question we have to ask ourselves, hang on, it's all top. I'm going to tie this all into everything we've been talking about. We have to ask ourselves the reasons for that, D. And one of the reasons, I'm not going to deny there's other factors, but one of the reasons is, frankly, fans are holding them to the same standards, so your casual sports fan ain't interested.
Yeah,
simple as that. They don't fight often. They don't fight often enough. They don't fight competitive competition often enough. Period. End of.
There's not enough A plus. There's not enough A plus.
Let me finish answering this question.
Individual thing. No.
Let me tell you something.
It's not an individual thing. It's the sport in whole, though.
That's not true. That's not true.
Let me tell you something, D. Let me tell you something. For example, and I limit that whole conversation about where boxing is now and where it was before to the Americas, because as far as what's happening in the UK, you have to remember the UK fans are getting a lot of treats. They got fucking Daniel Dubois versus Joe Joyce, right? They got that. We can't fucking get Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney. The Ryan Garcia people probably don't want that fight. They're talking about chasing around Javante. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to get and this is without assigning blame. This is just me saying this. In the next two fights, Lopez versus Haney don't happen. It don't happen in the next two fights. Whereas in the UK, they got White versus Joshua, 2 unbeaten fighters. Joyce versus Dubois, 2 unbeaten fighters. They put and a lot of people aren't going to pay attention to this, but look, Anthony Yard versus Lyndon Arthur is the kind of fight you won't see here. You won't see it. Frank, I don't know why Frank did that.
That's
The only reason
Right.
I knew what I knew about the fight was because of Beats. Shout out to Beats. He been saying it for months. That Lyndon Arthur fight, better watch that shit, cause and Yard might not win that shit. And we know that the promotion wasn't behind Lyndon Arthur. The promotion was really behind Anthony. These are the kind of fights that the American fight fan is not getting. So I'm not gonna say that boxing was better. I'm gonna say that in America specifically,
it's not better, Julius. It isn't better. It's just that the fighters back then, like you threw out some names like Hearns and Sugar Ray and Tyson and Oscar. You threw out Oscar. These dudes were built for, they were built to be great. Oscar took chances.
Yep.
These dudes over here nowadays are not taking chances, and then people are trying to blame the sport for that. No. It isn't the damn sport. You all are not taking chances. That's why we're having these A-side, B-side conversations, and we're not talking about fights. We're talking about the politics of fights, but not the fights themselves.
Yes,
Every fighter you named took a chance. So every fighter you named actually took a chance. These dudes are not taking a chance unless they get paid to take a chance. That's why the sport is stagnating right now.
I agree.
With now, hold on now. Teofimo is the exception. He went up there and he took that chance and all of that. That's why you have guys like, Joshua that'll always be, heads and shoulders over these cats. And that's the same thing with this boy here, Alvarez. Alvarez will take chances, man. And you have guys like the twins down there. You got
I want to add
you got the Charlos over there complaining that such and such is ducking them. You ain't built for nothing. That's the same thing with Spence. He ain't built for nothing. The same thing with Crawford right now.
Let me add this to the conversation. Let me add this to the conversation. Do y'all remember how old Julio Cesar Chavez was when Oscar fought him? Y'all remember how old he was?
Forever old.
34, 35.
34, 35, around there, early 30s, we could say, right? And that was Oscar. That was a passing of the torch kind of crossover fight for Oscar. It was an important fight, and Oscar won the fight the way you supposed to win that fight. Coincidentally, Keith Thurman fought an older Manny Pacquiao. Keith Thurman is 10 years younger than Manny Pacquiao. He so the disparity in age.
His ass handed to him.
And what happened? You go out there and fucking lose, bro. You and I say it all the time. You're in the passing of the torch fight, and you drop the fucking torch. That's what's going on in America, right? Like, really, dog? You dropped the torch? You tripped over a pebble in the crossing over fight? That's fucking retarded, bro. Like,
let me just get in for a sec, yeah? Right? A lot of people have been having to go at Callum Smith recently for the dismal performance against Canelo, and it was dismal. And they were saying he should have never been in the ring. But they have to remember this, right? When the World Boxing Super Series was trying to get off and get networks in America, he stepped up. He didn't know who was going to be in there. He stepped up and dared to be great and went in that competition and won it, right? Where was all the Bob Arum fighters or the Al Heyman fighters or the Golden Boy fighters? Anyone who wants to complain, where were your fighters in that tournament? Yep. Where were your fighters? I mean, he deserved it. Why
Andre Ward is another one that was built for greatness. Andre Ward. Andre Ward was built for greatness.
Yeah, he did this. But to add to what Beats said, and where was the pressure from American boxing fans in general to push our fighters into that tournament?
Right.
Well, good luck finding it.
You don't remember what was going on, Doc? They was trying to shit on it. The usual suspect channels, well, nobody give a fuck about that tournament. That tournament ended up being the shit, dog. Like them, and I'm waiting for season 3 because I love them shits. I love both seasons of them shits.
I do too.
So I wasn't never on that bullshit. Like, this affords me the opportunity to watch. It's almost like the Olympics because these are the best fighters, or some of them, from around the world.
That tournament, right, had 2 bantamweights, right, in the final with a 9 million peak in Japan watching them. 22,000 is at the I can't remember at the whatever stadium it was. 22,000 watched the there and anyway, right? 9 million viewers, yes. Super, yeah.
At the time of watching, it was 18.5 million worldwide.
Yeah.
Now compare that. It's not that there aren't American bantamweights, but you tell me if they're gonna get that kind of viewership over here.
Fuck no.
I'm going to go a step further, Julius. I'm going to go a step further. I'm not so sure Crawford versus Spence does that kind of numbers.
Ow! Hot
Hey,
take.
yo, Julius, you remember
How about them
the
apples?
series with Dave Chappelle when keeping it real goes wrong?
Yeah,
You remember
yeah,
that segment?
yeah.
They should do like a segment with keeping chasing the purse goes wrong.
Oh,
Like with
yeah.
the PBC fighters, like the Herd and Charlo fight never happened.
Bro, I
Somebody
got
threw
at
a
least
monkey
5
wrench.
episodes of that in my brain right now.
Hell yeah.
Adrian Broner gonna kick it off. You
Yo,
told-
we gotta do an episode.
You told Jay-Z to suck your dick and all of that shit. Now you got people. Now you telling people to super chat you or cash app you money. Adrian Broner got an episode of that. Like
And chasing the purse goes wrong.
goes wrong. Shit. Wilder, he gotta be episode number 2. Like, dog, like you really fucked up. Like you really.
Yeah. I was gonna do a video because the first 2 was Alex Garcia versus George Foreman. He turned down $1 million purse. This is about 1991. That's a fortune.
Yep.
And then in the next fight, he fought this journeyman Mike Dixon and got knocked the fuck out. 2 rounds. The other one was
Kovnowski has to be the Polish installment of when chasing the purse goes. Bro, you could have gone in there, right? Got laid out in the first second of the first round. You still would have made substantially more money doing that with no camp, not enough time, all the excuses you gave, regardless of whatever. If you'd have went in there and Joshua would have smoked you, you still would have made exponentially more money than what you made losing to Robert Helenius. And that's a goddamn shame because this is a sport where the athlete has a short shelf life. So you make while you can, what you can while you can. God only knows if he's ever going to have the opportunity to fight for that many titles and that amount of money again in his career. Because if I look at it, it don't look like you will. And I don't want to be pessimistic, but you tell me. Does it look like he's going to get the chance to fight for $7, maybe $8 million? You could have argued it up to 8. To fight for 3 world titles
against 2.
That's been happening all over the place in the heavyweight division. Like, I mean, even if we look at let's remove the Porsche for chasing a specific fight instead of taking the opportunity you could get. One of the biggest examples of that is Dillian. He was chasing the Wilder fight for so long, but he was given the Joshua fight and he didn't take it.
That's true. The second he said what was it? He wanted a split to where he'll make more money. That was what I remember, and that's why he walked away. He wanted it to be, if I win the rematch, then in the rubber match, I'll get more money. And because he couldn't have it that way, he walked away. Well, you know what? You would have made more money losing to Joshua than what you made eventually losing to Povetkin, and that is a fact.
Yeah. Hey, Julius, peace out, fam. Doc, everybody, Mark, Pete, all you guys.
Take care, man. Peace.
I'll see you, man.
All right, peace out, fam.
I'll see you, man. But and it's all over the place, though. It's Luis Ortiz, another example, and him who has a child that has a disability. You need the cash, bro. Like you need the cash. And maybe you wanted to fight. Maybe the fighter wanted to fight, but his management didn't want it because they didn't fucking take it. So I don't believe for a second he made $7 million fighting Deontay Wilder the second time. No way, though. Where would the money have come from? Where would it have come from? $7 million.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Where would that alone with what you have to pay Wilder alone? I can't even reconcile that. Much less a network gave him $7. No, dog. You must have paid him in hot dogs and hot dog water, but you ain't pay him in dollars. Like, no, dog, no.
You see, like if Wilder and Jarrell Miller were British, they would have fought a long time ago.
Yeah.
Although he would have probably got popped for PEDs before they got in the ring. But you know, we would have had that signed. That would have been. I mean, can you imagine the build up for that?
If Wilder was British, he would have got knocked out by Derek Chisora when Frank Warren wanted to make the fight.
Derek Chisora actually makes more money than Wilder, and he's never been a champion. Same thing with Dillian White, right? Am I wrong?
I don't think that's exactly accurate because remember, Showtime blew their budget trying to keep up with the Zone's budget. They blew their.
That was only one time, Julius. That was only one time. I'm talking about overall.
That is true.
He's talking in general. Look, we've said this before, Julius. Right now, and it's not. I mean, the American boxing fans are having to wake up to the other. We're getting our ass kicked by the UK guys at heavyweight boxing. We're getting our asses kicked by the UK at heavyweight boxing, Julius. What's going on here?
First time. That's the first. That's unprecedented.
Beats the horizontal heavyweights are whooping our
Yeah. It's unprecedented.
Let me ask the question to you guys, right? To the heavyweight guys and everything. When was the last time two American heavyweights got into the ring each other and actually garnered an audience?
That's a great point.
Say it again.
Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson.
Yep.
When was the last time two American heavyweights got into the ring and fought each other and actually garnered an audience?
Probably Tony and Holyfield. But like, if we're gonna at least get into that, probably Tony and Holyfield.
Right. So that was what?
Tony,
2000. Was that 2004? 16 years ago?
Jesus Christ!
I think it was longer, but yeah.
Jesus,
I think it was about 2004, right? Now, let's put this into perspective, right? Let's put this into perspective. David Haye and Derek Chisora, when they fought, think of that. That garnered a massive viewing public. Massive viewing public. People were going wild for it. I mean, come on, man. When Joshua fought White at domestic level, they were instantly on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Instantly.
They sold out to me, didn't they?
No. Now you know David Haye used to pass for R. Kelly, so you know that's why he got so many fans over here. You know, people thought he was a buff R. Kelly.
Hey, listen,
that's the buffest, best looking version of R. Kelly ever.
2003. Let's fight this. Like, listen, even like Chris Burn, like he had a run. He fought Tua, then he had fought a nobody Holyfield. Like. He used to fight people, but the Klitschko's, they were falling.
Let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something. We got this kid. I believe in him. I think he's got what it takes. His name's Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson. I think he's got what it takes. I think in a couple of years he's gonna turn things around. I think he has the potential, at least, to turn things around. If Top Rank don't know how to do nothing else, they know how to groom fighters, and I think he's in very good, capable hands. I think things are gonna change, because we're seeing a wave of American fighters that Ryan Garcia, for what it's worth, say what you want. How many prospects get the attention that he's getting for fighting Luke Campbell? You know, when Ivan Mendy fought at Luke Campbell, it didn't mean what this means. You understand? There's a lot of eyes on this fight. A lot of eyes on this fight. He's a Golden Boy fighter. Teofimo, he did what he did. Devin Haney, he's doing what he's doing. So the next wave of American fighters, I can wholeheartedly say that they're not on that PBC bullshit. They're not on that PBC bullshit. So there's hope. But as far as what the PBC has, right? Like, those guys are fucked as far as I'm concerned. They're fucked. Where does Keith Thurman go from here, yo? You are another loss waiting to happen. That's how I see him. Like, I don't know who they're gonna fight next, but I'd wager that a guy like a Lopez, right, wants to win more than you do, because you're just chasing the bag. You don't want to win. You're just chasing the bag. Now you know what?
I've been watching a lot of Josecito recently, right? Like pretty much going through his career again, and I've gotten up to where he is now. And I need to say this: I think he's one of the most improved fighters in the world since he's joined Robert Garcia. He's improved a lot. People aren't giving him his credit. They're just saying, "Oh, Thurman was past it" or whatever. He's really actually improved a lot. He's doubling up his jab. He's getting his head movement going. He's changing his angles. He's doing the Moidana effect that he did years ago.
But can we say that a fighter like Josecito Lopez is exhibiting a hunger that we don't see from a Keith Thurman? I feel that way.
Of course.
I feel that way. That Lopez right now, in spite of having, lost a couple of fights, he's hungrier than Keith Thurman, who only has one loss. That's it. One loss, but that's it. You're not hungry. I can see it. If you're hungry for something, it must be ice cream, because it ain't fight. It ain't fights.
There's female fighters out there that fight with more passion than most men. And the truth is, right? If I was a promoter right now, I would have a bunch of female cards on TV because females bring the business right now. And
Eddie Hearn, and I'm not taking credit for what he's doing, but I believe firmly that he sees what I see. I don't think a lot of people see the potential this has, But I think he sees it. They're like, yo, dog, you do this right. This could literally change the game, the whole game, if you do this right. The Americans don't see it because the Americans are lazy and misogynistic. You got fighters like Alicia Baumgartner. You can't tell me you can't sell her. Look at her. Look at her. You can't sell her? Bullshit. There's a lot of fighters like that. But these guys got no vision. So it is what it is.
You see Hearns and Leonard, yeah? They were supposed to first fight in 79, but Angelo Dundee, he rushed back from his holiday and he stopped the fight because he knew Ray wasn't ready. But, I mean, they fought in 1981 and Leonard was 25, Hearns was 23. That's just a good time. Like, Terence Crawford is 30, 33. Yep. He's 33. Spence is 30. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, this is the waiting too long.
The ship sailed. The ship's already sailed, in my opinion, man. By the time those guys, by the time all the all-time greats that we've talked about, even as recently as the 90s, were that age, they were either moved up 2 or 3 weight classes, or they were on their way to retirement, or had retired. Hagler was out of the game at 33, was he not, Beats?
Yep.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
But more importantly, Hagler was already accomplished by age 33. Like, think about where Hagler.
Yes.
Think about where Hagler was at 33, and where Wilder, he's 34. All right.
Listen,
right.
Wilder's 35.
Listen, Marvin was a household name in the UK. Household name. Everyone knew the middleweight champion was. Everyone knew.
Dog, my grandmother knew who Marvin Hagler was because of the pizza commercials.
Look, I want to put this like into full perspective, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong on this. Wilfred Benitez, when he fought Ray Leonard, was considered a veteran, and he was 21.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he started at 17.
He was 21, and he was a veteran. He was at world level for years.
Cervantes. Yeah, he beat a guy like Cervantes at 17.
That's right.
Cervantes was no joke. Cervantes went on to become a champion again and lost.
Now if you're 17, hold on. Now if you're 17, right? Now if you're 17, you're considered a blue chip prospect if you beat Linnell Bellows.
It's true. Right, it's true.
It's well out here, man.
Where? I gotta keep coming back to this. Where, and we're talking about American boxing, Julius, like you said. Where is the fan pressure on these guys?
Well, the fans,
you know what I mean? There's a lot of enablement. There's a lot of enablement of the kind of things, of the problems that we've been complaining about, in my opinion.
I think that the fans in the United States, the hardcore boxing fan, was hurt and disenfranchised by the Mayweather era. I don't blame Mayweather per se, but I'd be lying if I said that fight and its aesthetic, right? Because we're just talking about entertainment. Personally, I think Floyd did everything right. That's me. But I know that the fight's aesthetic was not pleasing to the paying customer. Now, the most paying customers that ever yielded cash for a pay-per-view coincidentally yielded it for that fight, and they didn't like what they saw. So that has an adverse effect. It does. They're like, yo, dog, I'm not paying for these shits if that's what I'm gonna get. I'm not gonna pay for this shit. The same is true of Thurman versus Danny Garcia to a lesser extent. I remember, and I didn't complain about Thurman versus Garcia, but I remember the day after the fight, a lot of people would complain like, oh, I thought that shit was gonna be fireworks. That shit was boring. I remember,
listen. America, listen, like our 1981, you had the super fight between the featherweights, right? Sanchez and Gomez. Like, Sanchez got a 750,000 purse for a featherweight in 81. Gomez got 500,000, right? This is a golden era of boxing. America was untouchable. And like, for you to call Spence an ace, he's not an ace. He's a good fighter. He's doing well, but he needs to do more as a welterweight from what your previous welterweights have done.
Bro, he's already talking about retiring, Beats. You didn't see what he said? He said, I'm here for a good time, not a long. Like, really? Really?
So you sound like a whore.
So, Sean.
That's true.
It's true.
Do you know what, yeah?
Depends how long you're paying her for, though.
But how
personally, for me, yeah.
So it's Sean, Brooke, Mikey Garcia in retirement, basically. I beat Danny Garcia. I gotta retire.
Let me say this real quick there, Julius. You know, since you brought his name up a while back, we will. You got to blame Oscar for this. I mean, we actually gave him praise, but if he never, if he never created, Floyd, right? We wouldn't have this era.
I don't
And that's
know.
the truth.
There's that dynamic, right? That dynamic of
No, that's the truth, Julius. If you take that fight off his record,
I
then
disagree.
who was Floyd?
I personally disagree, and the only reason I say that is because this whole A-side dynamic in boxing goes back even to the days of Texas.
Yeah. It goes back, but it wasn't this powerful and wasn't this relevant.
It was very powerful during Texas.
When?
Records time. It was very powerful.
No, it was not, brother. No, it was not.
It wasn't actually titled A-side, though, was it?
No, it wasn't.
To be honest with you, I could go back. I could go back years. I could go back decades, and I don't remember ever having a conversation about a fighter's money.
Well, look,
I remember having a conversation about a fighter's fights.
This goes back to what J-Max said, right? Now I want y'all to, and only y'all are already going to notice when I say it, but there was no A-side that was more of an A-side than Mike Tyson, correct? Like, right. He was, like, in his time, he was it, right?
Yeah. He was it, period.
He was it. But at the same time, he didn't neglect to fight anyone, even though he was it. These guys are using, I'm the A-side, I ain't got to fight you. Whereas Mike, you not never going to be the boxing what Mike was. He was the A-side.
Even at the end of his career, by the way, Mike was still an A-side, right? Even now he's an A-side. But even at the end, when him and Lennox fought, right? When him and Lennox fought, true or false, guys, after that fight, Mike said, I want to thank Lennox for the opportunity. It was great fighting you. You're a fighting champion. And I hope we can fight again.
Yeah. Because Mike had a fight, and once again, I'm not trying to diminish anybody, but if I'm being honest and I'm outside looking in, Mike had a fighter's mentality. He was the A-side, but he left no stone unturned. He fought Holyfield. You know
case in point, Julius. Hold up a second, Rap Star. Case in point, everybody. Mike was so powerful and so popular that he fought a guy named Peter McNeely, and he made him a household name. Yeah. Who the hell was Peter McNeely?
Huh?
All right.
He was pizza commercials after that, man.
Yeah. I remember that.
Hold on. I'm gonna ask a controversial question. I'm gonna ask a very controversial question. Did Mike make him an A-side? Like, did he make Peter McNeely a household name, or did racial dynamics and the Great White Hope stigma make Peter McNeely?
Mike Tyson all the way.
I can honestly say I don't remember that coming into it at all. We all knew what that was.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, that was Mike's first fight after the that was
jail.
His first fight.
Yeah. Before Mike went to jail, right? He didn't even have a title, and he fought Razor Ruddock twice. Something Holyfield wouldn't do, what Foreman wouldn't do, what none of them, the Riddick Bowe wouldn't do. None of them would fight. He fought him twice. Listen, if he was in the PVC, that would never happen.
Exactly. Exactly. Those kind of like, and I think it was Doc that brought this up because I don't have the Ring magazines from that era, but I think it was Doc that brought it up, and I ended up looking it up, and it's like, yo, dog, this dude fought 8 out of 10 top 10 fighters in his division at that 8 out of 10. All right, these dudes will fight one and think, I'm it. That's it. I'm the 8th.
That's right.
I fought one.
Also,
off
just
the top
to
of my
answer
head,
the
the only top guy in his prime, the only top guy Mike didn't fight, and Beats has broken this down before too. But off the top of my head, the only one I could really think of you might be able to hold him to would be Tim Witherspoon, and that's it.
Troy Graham.
Say what you want. Say what you want about Mike's who Mike fought. He fought who was available. He fought all of them.
And Beats made this point, which I think is very valid, because he left no stone unturned. His first run before jail, because he left no stone unturned. These guys never got to become nothing. Without Mike Tyson there to squash you, Tyrell Biggs fucks around and wins a title. Without Mike,
because he destroyed Tyrell Biggs. He destroyed him. Case in point now, Mike is 50 plus years old now, and he's putting on play fights and selling more than these so-called A-side fighters of today. So shut the hell up. About y'all being A-side, and get your asses in the ring and build your legacy, because you ain't shit. Okay? Thank you very much.
He said he's selling slap boxing matches, B.
Mike Tyson said, I don't like when fighters come out and say, I don't want to fight another fighter because we're all here to try and get paid. I remember when he said that. He said he don't like that. He doesn't like that kind of talk. You know what I mean?
No. But he understands. You fight for money, and you fight for like a legacy as well. Because that's what drives you, man. If you only fight for money, you ain't gonna fight with no passion. Case in point, Floyd Mayweather.
Look, man, Mike Tyson the type of guy you can say you're a fanboy of Mike and not feel bad about it. You don't feel compromised about your sexuality, your manhood, or anything. You can say you're a Mike Tyson fanboy. You can't say you're an Errol Spence fanboy. I feel good about that.
I'm not a fanboy of a damn person. Unless they have breasts and pee sitting down. But other than that, no.
I get you.
All I'm gonna say is I'm a Mike Tyson fanboy, right? That was my Superman when I was a child, right? And if you look at the way that he did it, for all the criticism that he got, it's like, dog, these cats right now is not doing what he did before the jet. Like, they not, bro. They not. Like, look, he went in there with Larry. I don't really call Larry the crossing over fight because Mike was already big. He was already big by that time. That was really just a prelude to the Michael Spinks fight. But at the same time, okay, Larry was actually younger when he fought Mike than Pacquiao was when he fought Thurman. Come on, and what is Thurman? Thurman loses the fight. Thurman loses the fight. Larry was what, 36, 37, I think?
35, 36. 35, 36.
All right, Manny was
34 years old, man. 34.
He was 34.
Tony Tucker was IBF champion, 34-0. 34-0 at about 30 plus KOs when Mike fought him. And Mike, listen, all the people trying to say Mike didn't fight anyone, that's up to you. He fought enough people. Trust me. He fought enough people.
Like I said, Beats. If someone wants to argue about how good those guys were, that's one discussion. But who did he not fight? Which is a point you made a while back that I resonated with me. Who can we name that he didn't fight? It's like Tim Witherspoon.
Well, if you ask Deontay Wilder, he ain't fight nobody.
Ray Mercer, maybe.
He was going to fight Ray Mercer before he fought Lennox, but Lennox didn't want to give him enough time to sharpen up his skills. He was actually going to fight Mercer.
And then Ray fucked around and got a boxing lesson from Larry.
Let me read the super chat. Curtis Anderson says, the American boxing scene changed when the amateur program deteriorated and network TV turned its back on boxing. I'm going to disagree with you on this, Curtis. I don't think that the networks turned their back on boxing. I think that boxing turned its back on the networks because they started focusing on pay-per-views and pay-per-views.
Absolutely right, Julius. Absolutely right.
Hang on.
You can believe it after that, Julius.
It was cable TV.
Time out. I gotta add something though. I would say it's a little more specific than what Curtis Anderson said. The American networks. The American networks turned their back on the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
All right, we did. We threw them off the network.
The biggest mistake that American boxing made was when they started disrespecting the Klitschko's. That was they should have never.
What?
Yeah,
because the heavyweight division, that's what drives the whole fucking sport at the end of the day.
Even if they were crap, try and develop someone who can beat them. Rather than let's just abandon it because they've got the belts.
No, Klitschko's were disrespectfully boring as hell until they got to Kronk Jim.
Come on. You can't call Vitaly boring, bro. I could understand if you say that about Vlad.
Before Kronk Jim, yes. Before Kronk Jim, I can.
Oh, Vitaly weren't Kronk Jim though. He never went with him, Manny.
Yeah, he didn't go with Manny Stewart.
Can I read something from an article here that may tie some things together, in terms of networks and promoters and stuff? And this is actually, it also ties into Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, if I can. Right. So this is on DAZN, November 24th, right? They account anywhere from $3 million to $5 million to the bottom line. That's not going to be available. And the price of the pay-per-view is too fucking high. because the cut that the satellite and cable systems take is way too much, in my opinion. Now, that's from Bob Arum, right? Yeah. And now Bob says, Bob also goes on to say he believes that both boxers would want a guaranteed $10 million to commit to the deal. The problem is the guarantee that each of them want is unsustainable. But I ain't gambling millions of dollars on this promotion. It's all well and good to talk about it, the fight, but who's going to pay for it? Now that tells you kind of a lot. Like you see the promoter talking about the money side of things, the idea of the networks looking for too high of a cut, and the fighters wanting too high of a cut, but then the promoters also want their cut. So there seems to be a stagnated interest between the three parties, essentially, between how much is who should get in what like vicinities, and that could be where American boxing is falling down when you look at it from that point of view, because Bob's putting a blind to us.
Well, what Bob is telling you as well, like basically, all the see, what we need to kill is this A side Errol Spence, right? If they're not willing to bankroll the fight, you can't be the A side, bro. Tell me a fight they didn't bankroll for Oscar or Floyd. They bankrolled all of this shit. And Mike Tyson, you're not A side. You can't generate enough for them guarantees for the fight to go ahead as well.
In that same article, Bob Arum offered up the solution that I've been offering up for about 12 months. And that is, that goes to Beats' point also, that you're not the A-side, Errol. And Terrence, we know you do what you do. The only way to make this fight is to let the both of yous make your money off the upside. And we use the money in the pot to promote the fight. That way, we ensure that the fight is big. The money has to go to the promotion. It cannot go to the fighter, because neither one of you two guys generate shit. You don't generate nothing. We have to.
As far as pay-per-view goes, there actually are no pay-per-view stars, with the exception of Canelo and Joshua right now.
Yeah,
there are no pay-per-view stars besides those two. And I'm gonna say this, which is gonna irritate a couple of people. Alvarez is actually a bigger pay-per-view star than Floyd was, and I'm gonna tell you why. There was no heavyweight division and no challenge to him. It was just Floyd by himself. Alvarez has to deal with the heavyweights. He got the welterweights and everybody else. So he's actually bigger than Floyd.
Like Floyd, Troy. I know you don't like Floyd.
Absolutely not. Right.
No, but Troy, here's the thing though. Like Joshua does pay-per-view in the UK. He doesn't do shit in America. He does pay-per-view in the UK. So I don't think that really holds up. He goes
to another country and makes $80 million. Enough said.
All right, look, fellas, I gotta go. I want to argue with you about this, especially you, Troy. I want to argue about this more. I gotta go, and it's a pleasure. I hope everybody enjoyed their Christmas.
Yeah, man.
All right, and I'll be back, and we'll argue about more shit. Always.
I'm off till the first of the year, man. So I'm gonna be pissing a lot of people off, Julius.
I'm gonna bring you back, and we're gonna argue about this. I don't have time to argue about it. Tanaka.